Yo, what's up, y'all? Thanks for joining in. What is this popping up on here? Let's see here. We got Rhodes. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Betsy Spirit Rider is in here. Let's see who else we got. Why is everything moving so slow? Richest Kennels, thanks for joining in, man. King Crow said it's showtime. Exactly. Donna Whitaker is in here for sure. WKRK9 is in here. We got Maurice Yutzi in here. Let's see, Rose. Exactly, Rose. Thank you for reminding me, bro. Hit that like button, you guys. Go ahead and share it, and all those other things I always forget to say to do. And definitely hit that notification bell so that you get the reminder. Let me see here. Casper is in here. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. G Moneybags in here. James Galloway, Calculated Bullies, is in here like always. He said PBP Finest Bullies is tapped in. There we go. Who else we got in here? Kahiki Sakata said chi. That's what I'm talking about. Thanks for joining in, brother. Whoop whoop, exactly. See, now normally on my side of Southern California, we don't make that sound that you just made right there, Betsy. But Top Caliber is in here. Let me see here. Who else we got? Lifestyle Bullies is in here. Top Caliber is in here from Beaumont, Texas. See, and that's funny, Betty. See, you just made an innocent sound, and where I live, that's like street politics right there, that little sound. But let's see. So tonight, we have, what are the topics? The Attack on the Dog show. For those of you who did not see the video, why did they close that? Hold on just a second. Let me open this back up. There we go. All right. So there was a judge that got attacked for the dog video. Now, at a dog show. Person who sent it to me said that it was from the past weekend. Apparently, it was from 2 years ago. People promised they wouldn't post it because they felt it would make the breed look bad or whatever else. I don't know. I get that sentiment, but we'll get into that. Let's see. Next topic was from Rich's Kennels: proper raw diet and the best and worst meat for your dogs and best natural probiotics. Third topic was from Rashad Kelly, my bad. He said, we always hear study the pedigree, but what does that mean exactly? What should people be looking for? And what are some strategies to use? Rose Kennels posted, I crossbred 4 generations in and just did my first inbreeding with litter mates, brother and sister. Will I lock in traits? And then we have, are there bad bloods or just inexperienced breeders with bloods they don't understand? And last but not least, topic from Dom Sequenza. Seguenza said, kibble for pups and adults, the differences and recommendations for pups and adults. So let's go ahead, jump into it and get this going. Let me, hold on. Let me share this out a couple times. Where is it, matter of fact? Why am I not finding it on Facebook? There we go. All right, I'm going to get this shared out real quick. Again, you guys, make sure you like and share. If you are on watching through Facebook, there is a high percentage chance that I will not be able to see your comments. So if you watch and subscribe through YouTube, I'll be able to see it. If I am able to see your comments on Facebook, there's a good chance I won't be able to see who you are. It will just show me Facebook. But right now I'm looking at it and there's no Facebook logo in the comments. So I'm assuming it's not going to show me Facebook comments for some reason. That was good. Let's see here. Let me get this shared out. Hold on just a moment. and we will get it cracking in just a second. Where else? It is hot in my house for some reason. Making beans and rice. It is heating up the entire area where I'm working. Let me see here. XL Bully. What is it called? Black. There we go. And Bully Bible. XL Bully Bible. There we go. All right, and one more. Bam. All right, let's go ahead and get it going. So, first topic, kibble for pups and adults, the differences and recommendations. I am not of the thought process as most newer breeders. And when I say newer breeders, I mean those who got into breeding in the last 10 to 15 years, where things are all complicated. And I have a firm belief that when it comes to taking care of a dog, if it becomes complicated, I won't breed that dog or have anything to do with that dog or breed. Now, we agreed to get into bullies, XLs, and our as big as King is, and our females. Most times you hear people criticizing me, they'll tell you Daryl breeds tall dogs, but what they don't do is pay attention to what we produce. And that's why you guys have to watch. When you get involved in the community, don't get caught up bashing people, because you don't know if they're breeding to a train wreck, that's one thing. But most times we don't know the direction somebody's headed. So if they've got a high rear and you say something negative to them about a high rear, but the truth is they're breeding to a dog that's got a perfect rear, they just haven't told you yet, kind of makes you look foolish, because within their first breeding, they've all of a sudden corrected everything you were trash talking them about. And that's why I don't talk trash to people online about their dogs unless they're trying to go in on me and I've seen a pattern to the way they breed. But make sure you think about that. As far as, breeding these dogs and what we should be feeding and things like that, I think we've done a lot of band-aiding to different breeds and different bloodlines and different breedings, period. So, for instance, when a dog can't eat kibble, they tell us, okay, well, don't feed the dog kibble, start feeding it, chicken broth and rice. And then we say, okay, we feed it chicken broth and rice. The dog is able to, dog has no more allergic reactions. And then we turn around and we breed that dog. At some point, when we realized dogs couldn't eat the kibble that they had been eating for generations, we were supposed to not breed those dogs. And what we've done is we've created it. We made things more complicated. So don't make your feed complicated. And if you know that you've got issues, at some point, we as breeders have to be willing to say, I might have to scrap this dog. Dog looks great, but it's got allergy issues. This dog looks great, but every time I feed it this, it's got issues. Whatever it is, dogs aren't supposed to have issues when it comes to what they eat. They're supposed to be able to eat scraps, the bare minimum, and survive great. People will say, oh, I start feeding raw and my dog has better poops now, or my dog has better coat now. Then you need to start breeding for dogs that have a good coat and better poops off of the things that your dog's ancestors were eating, which 9 times out of 10 was kibble. So the way I look at it is kibble for pups. We're looking at these dogs. One, we do need to know what they're made of. Don't try to start out with kibble, simple, basic kibbles, so that we're not just band-aiding everything, and so that you know what you're doing. Most of I have Cardi Bull, and my cousin did the same thing with Justice. We ended up doing the same thing with King. We took the bare minimum. We just gave, for 6 months, we gave them nothing. We didn't add to it, nothing but pedigree and water for 6 months just to see how they did with it. Once we knew we didn't have any issues, then that's when we went to adding the more nutrition and better things. But for that first 6 months, I think we did each of them once they hit a year. It was either 8 months or a year. I don't remember how old it was, but it was right around that age of 8 months to a year. Switched them to nothing but kibble and water just to see how they did for 8 months. I mean, for 6 months. After a 6 month period, we realized they were doing fine, taking the same walks, fetching the ball, doing the same, and then bam, we went ahead, put them back on what we would normally do. When it comes to kibbles, I like to treat kibble as a base for my food, or my dog's food, or a filler. So the first thing I do is I put the kibble in a bowl and I fill that bowl. Don't fill the bowl up with water, but just put enough water in there to soak the kibble, because I want it to soak up as much water as possible. And then from there, I add to it. And for that reason, I like low kibbles. When it comes to large dogs, dogs that are wide, dogs with thick bone, dogs that carry a lot of mass, you want to stick with low protein kibbles. And the reason you want to do that is because when you start getting high in protein, everybody gets high on the Victor and all these other high protein. You want to keep that kibble between 18 and 23%. Anything over 23%, you're going to start over affecting your puppies and the growth plates of your dogs as they're growing. Because remember, they're already growing awkward. You want to be looking at your dogs as they grow and try to feed them accordingly to how they're growing to keep it balanced. For example, dog hits a lanky stage. That means it's going to be using everything it can to get through that lanky stage. Now, a lanky stage is actually something that's good for dogs, not only in their muscle development and in their balance, but also in their brain development. Dog has to learn to adjust and get things to work back in order the way they were working before it went into that lanky stage. Then all of a sudden, everything falls in order through its growth and outside of that dog's control. And now everything it learned from going through that lanky stage, it uses in its movement for agility and chasing things, going after things, whatever. So the lanky stage is good. When you hear people say, my dogs don't go through a lanky stage, there should be some form of lanky stage to their growth. We are creating, these bull bred dogs, and they've got these short legs and things like that. So then when the dog doesn't go through a lanky stage, which is what a dog is naturally supposed to do, we have to question our involvement with this breed and how we're going about breeding. Because dogs need to go through a lanky stage. There's not only physical development that takes place in that lanky stage, there's also a mental development factor that takes place in that lanky stage. But stick with when you see the dog going through a lanky stage, that's when you want to hold back on protein. I look at it as with dogs that are thick bone, carry mass, heavy dogs, large dogs, stick with as low protein as possible. I would say 18 to 23%, especially for that first year and a half. Once they get through that first year and a half, then you can start increasing it and getting all your fancy high-end dog foods that you want to get. But that's the way I look at it. As far as recommendations, all of I stick to the basics. I float between pedigree and Purina One, but I add to it. What I add to it is either I have a protein day and I have a fruits and veggies day. On protein day, I stick with sardines. You can use the most common. Oh, I thought I had some in here, but I don't. You can use just regular sardines. You don't have to go get fresh sardines from anywhere. Regular canned sardines, Walmart brand, in water, and you're good. Add that along with some raw ground beef or chicken. We will also use chicken gizzards. We do chicken feet. But on your protein day, you can just do your regular kibble. And like I said, the reason I do a low protein kibble is so that I can add the protein to it as I see fit. So with a low protein kibble, I can go ahead and I will add on, let's say this protein day, I'm going to stick with ground beef. They'll get raw ground beef, chicken feet, sardines in water. Make sure it's in water. And then that'll be it, mixed in with the kibble. And then bam, that's what they're going to get. On fruit and veggies day, which is going to be the next day, my my base is always going to be the kibble, same kibble as the protein day, but mixed in with, now it's not going to be a focus on protein. It's going to be a focus on fruits and veggies. And we're going to be looking more at your garlic, cloves, blueberries, strawberries, apple slices are great. There's all kinds of great things you can add, but I stick with blueberries, strawberries. I try to add yogurt, plain yogurt every day. We'll get into that based off of one of the topics that came up. And you can go from there, and you should be fine because you're adding protein to the kibble, and on the same thing, you're giving a day off where there is no protein other than what's in the kibble. You know, if you're using sweet potato carries, and yams carry a certain amount of protein. Brown rice carries more protein than regular white rice. So there's different things you can add to it, but I like to do it every other day thing. The reason I do every other day is I fast on Sunday. So when I hit Sunday and I think, you know what, my dogs need more protein, then come Monday, I'm going to fast Sunday. Monday, I'll go ahead and I'll start off with the protein. If I hit Sunday and I'm thinking, you know what, the dogs are good with protein, so now it's more about building their immune system and things like that, then I'll go ahead and I'll start Monday off as a fruit and veggie day. And then every Sunday, I'm picking what I want to start off that for that Monday. But Sunday, you're clearing the system, letting them fast. Understand that when it comes to dog food, um, people are impressed with what they think they've learned rather than what they actually know and can prove. So everybody feels. You guys have seen Cardi Bull. Her fur is white as white can be on the white part, blue as blue can be on the blue part. And she gets the diet I feed her. I don't feed her raw. Her poops are fine. They say, oh, with raw, they poop less, blah, blah, blah. I have a son, so he goes out and cleans the poop. And when we move, it'll be me cleaning the poop. And I don't mind cleaning poop. So I don't need them to poop less, more, anything like that. I just want to look at the poop and know that they got as much nutrition out of it as possible. After that, I don't care if it's more or less or anything like that. I personally have never had a dog that was strictly fed off raw outperform or outlive any dog that I've ever owned, from mutts, and especially in the working field. I just don't see it. So I personally think raw is overrated. If you like feeding raw, bam, make that your thing. That's going to be the next part of the topics that we get into and how to properly go about feeding raw. But again, another thing with these large breed dogs, if you have a hard time finding, or you live somewhere where you have a hard time finding the low protein dog foods, then again, make sure you're focused between 18 and 23%. You don't need more protein than that, especially if you're adding to it. They have large breed foods, which is basically designed to have lower protein. If you've got a small dog, for anybody that's in here and you have terriers, especially working terriers, that's when you want your high proteins. But when it comes to large breeds, you don't want high protein. And you can use large breed foods though. If you have a large breed, they'll tend to have less protein. Remember, we may not be breeding Great Danes for those of us breeding XLs, but let's say you're just breeding standards in American Bully. It's still a thick bone dog. Even the pocket, a thick bone, massive dog. I would not treat the pocket the same way I would treat another 14 to 17 inch dog. I wouldn't. I would treat it like it's a thick bone dog. They do not. Same thing for people in here who breed exotics. We have a breed that genetically gives the mass, the bone, the muscle. So we don't need to use higher protein to do so. So as far as that topic, kibble for pups and adults, the differences and recommendations, I've used Puppy Chow, never had any problems. I've used Pedigree. I would say with these dogs that are more massive, use an adult food and then add to what you're going to add to it for your pups and for your adults. And when I'm saying pups, I'm assuming we're looking at anywhere between 8 weeks and 6 months. All right, let me see what the comments say. Let's see, Rome Irwin, Alpha One Bullies from Savannah, Georgia's in here. Keyshawn Maxino, Miami is in the building. Second to none. What's up, Danny? Thanks for joining in, brother. King, make sure you guys also check me, Danny, Raul, and Bobby York, both of QBNK. Danny Cervantes of Second to None. Make sure you check us out. We go live on Mondays, first Monday of the month. We have a stack off. Make sure you guys join in and check that out. If you want to bring your dog on to stack off, we go in there. We judge the dogs to see who wins. And then every Monday we do educational videos based off different topics and things like that. So make sure to check that out. But that's my brother there, Danny. King Dutch Kennel said, "What's good, fam?" Dion Peebles, what's up, brother? Said, "I'm going to see if I get special invitation." There you go. Let's see here. What else we got? G Moneybag said, "Beautiful day." Most people won't catch that. Ryan Barber said, "Raising Bars Bullies from Alberta, Canada. Good evening, all." Hold on, Danny. I'm going to send you a little info, see if you want to jump on. Let's see. Betsy said, "Laugh out blah, blame the old hippie chick." What's up? My partner in crime, Pitbull Bell Belinda said, "Hey, everyone." And I am falling behind. What else we got in here? It looks like everybody's in here. The same norms. We got John Stevens in here. Said hello to everybody. Let me see. All right, let's get to the next topic. Uh-oh, what did I do with my topics? I know, I lost what happened here? Let me get back over here. Next topic is, there we go. Come on, scroll. All right, so the next topic is, are there bad bloods or just inexperienced breeders with bloods they don't understand? We're going to push that to the end. Next topic came from Rhodes Kennels. I crossbred 4 generations in and just did my first inbreeding with litter mates, brother and sister. Will I lock in traits? The answer to that is yes. For those that don't know, Rhodes Kennels breeds Bandogs. His plan is to use them for protection and also hog catching. So right now he's 4 generations in on his breedings. So his question is, once he does that inbreeding, will he lock in traits? Yes. You're going to definitely lock in traits, especially because you're 4 generations in. So when you are, and as we've discussed before, when you are creating a bloodline, that bloodline doesn't start or doesn't exist until you have created your own unique look and temperament and locked it in. You have to create those 2 things and then lock them in through a tight inbreeding, a tight line breeding or a inbreeding. Okay, that's what begins your bloodline. The first steps of creating a bloodline are done by creating a family of dogs. So if you have 5 dogs that are unrelated, your bloodline doesn't start, the foundation of your bloodline doesn't start until all 5 of those dogs are in one litter. When you got all of those dogs in one litter, or all the dogs you've decided you're going to use in one litter, that's when your bloodline is starting. From there, it's going to take about 5 to 7 generations of breeding a family of dogs, that family of dogs, all those related dogs together, getting the corrections you need as far as function and as far as temperament. The more you're doing it, the more you're tightening up the blood. Sometimes you will start getting so tight that you're like, you know what, let me take it back to that auntie to fix whatever, I don't know. I don't like the way the ear set is. So I'm going to take it back to this auntie because she has the perfect ear set. So, the blood's going to be tightening and loosening. Your objective is to get it to tighten as you're correcting each of the flaws in temperament and structure and ability as you see fit. Once you think you are there, that's when you do your your inbreeding. And that's where Roach is at. He has now done his inbreeding. So his question is, will he lock in the traits? Yes. The objective is to get everything to as close as perfect as you can possibly get it. Figure out what dog you're going to go to for an outcross, and then bam, do your your inbreeding to lock it in. And then go immediately to your outcross or your distant line breeding to open that blood back up. But to answer to that question of that topic, yes, once you do an inbreeding, especially brother to sister, you're definitely going to lock in those traits. So hopefully you're locking in all the good traits and you've done the breedings the way they needed to be done. What was another one? Where's the other topic? Okay. Proper raw diet and best and worst meat for your dogs and best natural probiotics. This came from Rich's Kennels. I just told you guys exactly how I feed when it comes to raw diet. Well, let's get to the probiotics. As far as the probiotics, that one's simple. The best natural probiotic you can come across is raw sauerkraut. You can get raw sauerkraut in its most natural form. That is the most potent probiotic you can get. Next best thing is yogurt, plain yogurt. Make sure that it is plain. No additives, no blueberries, no anything. Just get plain yogurt. Don't get non-fat. Get plain yogurt. That's the next best one. But sauerkraut is a little more potent than yogurt when it comes to the stomach. As far as feeding a raw diet, you kind of got to look at it. I learned a lot about raw diet from feeding when I used to kind of have snakes and various lizards, especially monitor lizards. Then I also started noticing my Jack Russell lived a very wild life. She would eat anything that she caught in the yard: squirrels, gophers, birds, grasshoppers, anything. But you would once we got to the point where we were done, chasing her around to stop her from eating things and just kind of let her do what she does, you could kind of notice the things that she would kill it and leave it. And then a few days later, that same thing she would catch, whether it was a lizard, and then all of a sudden she'd eat it. The other days she wouldn't. So it was like she was dictating her diet. And I would see her also change up based off what I was feeding her inside the house. From my understanding, the foundation is meat. So whether you're feeding, beef, of course you've got, you want to fluctuate between your hoofed animals. Then you got your poultry, and that's the way you want to look at it. So in the wild, these dogs would be catching deer, antelope, gazelle, whatever it is. They would also be catching turkeys, chickens, birds, things like that. So you want to mix it up between those meats. Every now and then they may get a hold of a fish that some other animal catches and they run it off. And then you also have eggs. Every now and then dogs are going to come across those three things. So you want to look at those as those four things: eggs, fish, birds, poultry, whatever you want to call it. So turkey and chicken, and beef, lamb, pork, what else? Venison, rabbit, whatever it is, those type of prey animals, okay? With non-feathered prey animals. That needs to be the majority of what you're feeding, okay? And you want to mix it up. But for every one of those things, and I'm trying to figure out how to say it. So let's say you've got beef, okay? You're going to give it ground beef. You also want to make sure that for as much, if you divide that beef into 5 servings, one of those servings should be organs, if that makes sense on how I'm saying it, because I'm not sure I'm saying it. And we're talking about organs, we're talking about things in the body that actually do something for the body. Your, I don't know, the eyes, brain, liver. Liver is extremely good for dogs. But it should only be one part. So if I've got this much meat from the cow, then I need this much liver. You get what I'm saying? If that makes sense. So if it's 5 parts meat, then I want 1 part liver. I want 1 part an organ. The heart's good. Tripe, as we know, is very good for dogs. And then you also want 1 part organ. You want 1 part bone. So there needs to be some bone included in there. A lot of times I've seen people use chicken feet. That's not enough bone. You need something that, is truly bony. But what comes with your meat a lot of times will be enough bone. So especially if you're feeding poultry, things like that. You also want 1 part some type of veggie. And then that's pretty much it. You go from there. That's how they feed raw. If I'm not mistaken, there's a diagram that says 5-1. It says 5-1-1-1. So 5 parts meat, your beef, your chicken, your fish, 1 part organs, liver, heart, all those things that move inside our body outside of muscles. 1 part bone, and then always throw in at least 1 part veggie. And you don't have to measure it out. You just look at it as majorities and minimums. And as long as you feed that way and you're constantly switching it up, you should be good. Because you're getting your meat, you're getting your organs, you're getting your bones, you're getting your veggies, and you should be good in the way you feed. It doesn't have to be so precise, especially if you're exercising your dog and you are fasting your dog. Next topic was I crossbred 4 generations, was from Rhodes Kennels. I crossbred 4 generations in and just did my first inbreeding with litter mates, brother and sister. Well, lock it in. We touched on that already. Yes. Next topic came from Rashard Kelly. We always hear study the pedigree, but what does that mean exactly? What should people be looking for? What are some strategies to use? Here's the thing. We have gotten out of breeding dogs for performance and competition. So when dogs were bred for performance and competition, you didn't need to look at in-depth pedigree. You just wanted to make sure there were winners in the pedigree and that whoever you were getting the dogs from were breeding winners to winners. Then people got smart, especially in the game dog world, and realized I could use my females as a vessel. And what they would start doing was tightly breeding dogs, getting a female off of that, not working them. And this isn't just in the game dog world, also in the herding world, also in the hunting world, in the race dog world. But what people would start doing is realizing I'm going to use my males for the sport of whatever activity is I'm doing. And I'm going to use my females as like this temple or this vessel to store genetics. So you would line breed, type line breed, line breed, line breed, inbreed, and then you would take that female aside from that out of that litter that and that showed you the most traits that you were looking for. And you got to remember, as dogmen, you're not just looking for traits from the work. You're looking for traits from the play. She plays like her mother used to play when she was only 6 weeks old. Different things like that. So then they take that female, they put her off to the side and not use her for working. This is a lot of times why, for those who are in the game dog world, you'll notice a lot of times the males will have 2-time winner, 3-time winner, 4-time winner. The females don't have anything. They haven't even been matched because they are typically when you see that the female hasn't been matched, it's because she's a vessel. It's because she is tightly bred to store the genetics that they want and are looking for. And then you out inbreed her or outcross her, and then you go from there. But that female is used to create the offspring that you want to have. So when you're looking at when we were looking at pedigrees back then for working dogs, all we needed were dogs that were successful. And guess what? They give as far as one-on-one matches, like in the game dog world, of course, you're not going to have that. But as far as hunting dogs, the whole litter was successful. Just some were better than others. Herding dogs, same thing. The whole litter is normally successful. Just some are better than others or learn quicker than others, or did have slightly different traits in the way they go about doing things. That's what a pedigree was to see who was successful. And to know when you had a female that was not necessarily for performance, but was for storing the genetics of whatever bloodline or what was going on. Then we got out of that. We move into a softer society, show ring, things like that. And now it's about looks and popular names. So now people are using pedigrees to find popular names. And that is why a lot of these dogs suck, because nobody's breeding. You get a dog, and my dog is 10 times, I don't know, 10 times gorilla. But your dog has none of gorilla's traits. So what good does him being 10 times gorilla really do? So when you talk about, so the question was, we always hear study the pedigree, but what does that mean exactly? Study the pedigree means strictly forget about names, look for traits. You want to look through that pedigree and you want to see the traits that you have in your pup moving through whatever traits it is you want or whatever traits it is you're looking for. First things first, before you buy a pup, know exactly what you want. Know what you want. Know the height that you want your dog. Know the width that you want your dog, the approximate weight. Have an understanding of all that before you pick a dog, before you even start breeding. The temperament. What do you want your dog to be able to do? Do you want it to be able to jump a 3-foot fence? Do you want it to be able to jump a 4-foot fence, a 5-foot fence, a 6-foot fence? What do you want your dog to be able to do? If you've got a yard that is 1 acre, do you want your dog to be able to fetch a ball 10 times across that acre, 5 times, 2 times, 1 time, 20 times? Look around your environment. And what is it you want your dog to be able to do? Understand that. Think about that. Do I want the dog to bark when it hears the doorbell, or do I want it to bark and growl? Do I want it to just hold people off, or do I want it to attack? What ability do you want your dog to be able to do, regardless of what you're breeding for? Regardless of the breed that you happen to be breeding. This includes bullies also. What is it that you want your dog to be able to do? From there, how do you want your dog to look? From there, and then also, but actually, before you even look, what is your overall temperament you want of your dog? And then how do you want your dog to look? And then you want to find that in the traits in your pedigree. So when you're looking online and you see a dog, you know what? I like the look of the dog. I like the structure. It's got everything I want. I'm going to call the breeder up and I'm going to find out, bam, what's the dog's temperament like? How does he jump fences? Does he like to chase four-wheelers? What does he like to do? And what is he able to do? Once you've gotten those answers, you want to start tracking down what dogs in the pedigree enable these things: the look, the structure, the ability. Chances are, in the bully breed, for those of you who are watching that are breeding American bullies, chances are your average breeder is not going to have any idea or truth to temperament and ability. All they're going to be able to tell you is looks, and they'll probably lie about that too, especially if they know what you want before you made a purchase. They're going to tell you everything you want to hear. That's just what we have to deal with in the American bully world. To give you an example, Dave Wilson made a post today, and he said that people needed to work a lot more on the rears of these dogs and start, developing better rears. And he wanted to see them. People posted some of the worst rears. Now, this is Dave Wilson, guy that runs ABKC, one of the founders of the breed. And when he asked for rears, he posted a bunch of shitty rears. Some of them even posted videos, and the dogs were walking terribly. He's not going to attack anybody, so he, being the cool person that he is, kind of came back and said, hey, yeah, pictures are cool, videos are a little better, but really pay attention and start looking at the standard and dogs that you see in the rings to get an understanding of how these dogs are supposed to be moving. And even after he put that, people still kept posting the crappiest rears that you could ever think about. So think about that as a community that we're in. The guy who is kind of the, today he's considered the I don't know, the guru of the breed, the one of the beginners, founders of the breed. He's at the highest position within this breed by him running the largest registry dedicated to the breed. And when he says, "Show me XYZ," everybody posts ABC. And that's crazy. That lets you know how uneducated and kennel blind our community is. So we really have to learn to ask the right questions when we're talking to breeders and kind of trip them up. Most of you who have, if you're watching this and you've done breedings with King, or you've gotten pups from us, when you ask me questions, I got nothing but details for you. You know what I'm saying? I got nothing but quick answers, and it's all simple. I'm not sugarcoating anything. I'm not hiding anything. And your breeders, when you speak to them, need to be the same way. Whatever you're looking for, they should be able to show you a video if they're not giving you the answers clearly that you want, or you think they're just feeding you a load of shit. So the main thing that you are studying in a pedigree is traits. You want to be able to see traits passing through the pedigree for at least 4 generations. As far as what are some strategies, I don't know that there's really strategies other than take the dogs that you're looking at, go 4 generations back in mother and father, and really take a good look at those dogs and get as much information. Typically, 9 times out of 10, it's going to say the kennel and it's going to say the name of the dog. Get as much information as you possibly can about the temperament, the ability, and the look of the dogs, high rears, things like that. When you see pictures and you see an obvious high rear, but you call that kennel and you say, "Hey, I noticed this dog's in my dog's bloodline, or a dog I plan on getting 4 or 5 generations back. I just wanted to find out more information on her. Did she have any specific flaws?" "Oh, no, she was perfectly built." But you're looking at a picture that is obviously a high rear. You got to now cross that out and move on to the next one, because this person's full of shit and not going to tell you the truth, or doesn't care about you receiving the truth. So when it comes to pedigrees, don't get caught up in names. Don't get caught up in kennels. Be 100% focused on the traits. What traits are passing through the pedigree into the dog you want or the dog that you have? Because those are most likely going to be the traits that pass on through your breedings. And that's what you want to pay attention to. Where's she headed? Where you going? So that's the main thing. Keep it short and simple. The pedigree is not for names, it's not for kennels, it's for traits. If a dog is in your pedigree, if a dog has a popular name and that dog is a worthy dog of breeding, not just a dog that was well marketed, then that's great to have him in your pedigree. If he's in there 10 times, then you have a higher chance on having those traits in your blood. But it is all about traits, not popularity, not kennels. Unfortunately, in the bully community, what do we breed for? Popularity. We follow breeders for popularity. We will go to the most jacked up dogs just because the dog has been made popular by all its front shots. You know what I mean? I see people who've been breeding this breed longer than I've been in, and they're still breeding the fucked up dogs with, that are, you can tell are dumb, lazy, tongues constantly hanging out their mouth. And they say, "Oh, well, I got a clean female, I'm going to breed to her." I'm going to breed to this train wreck over here, and I'll trick some dummy into buying 4 of the puppies, and I'll keep the best one. That's just what we live in. That's going to change sooner than later. But as of right now, it's what we all have to deal with, unfortunately. But when it comes to your pedigree, forget the names, forget the kennels, follow the traits. You want to see those traits passing from generation to generation. All right, before we get into the last one, which is the nitty gritty of all this, let me check out the comments. Da-da-da-da. Spirit Rider, my chickens go in for themselves. One of you dock tails before 3 days old. They're easy, but I'd still take litter to the vet for tails and dew claws. I agree. You shouldn't wait past 3 days to dock tails ever. I agree. Second to none. King Crow was good. New York is in the building. All right, y'all don't be having too many New York people in here all at once. Y'all got to take turns. What's up? What's up, Martin? Thanks for joining in. What else do we got here? It's hard to find 23%, but never over 24% unless your dog is being worked hard. That's what it's all about. If you're working your dog, um, then that's fine to take your higher protein dog foods. For example, we would feed pedigree year round, and all of a sudden, about 2 months before hunting season, we would go ahead and put them on a lot of these dog food kibbles that you guys feed on a daily basis in dogs that don't do anything. That's not good for the dog at all. So lower the protein amount. And then when you're getting ready to do something that is exertion, you're working the dog, that's when you go ahead, you increase the protein for the conditioning phase, for the work phase. And then when the work is done, bam, you put them right back on their regular low protein dog food. John Stevens said, mine do as well, but I've been having coyote spots attacking like crazy lately. So I've been temporarily putting up electric fencing up around them. See, I'm about to move, hit the woods, and I'm going to have to be dealing with bobcats, coyotes, bear, mountain lion, and wolves. Now, when my cousin was there a few years back, there was like 3 young wolves that kept coming through the property. So I'm gonna have it all. That is partly one of the reasons that we're bringing all the dogs to one location to start off with. So King will be there, Justice will be there, Cardi Bull will be there. I'm gonna have my old man Floyd, and that should be enough to handle anything that comes onto the property or backing anything up that tries to come onto the property. My nervousness with Floyd and Cardi Bull is I do know Floyd is way too old. Cardi Bull is too experienced, but those two will go in on something. Some of you saw the picture where Justice keeps the coyote cornered. That was about, what, 2 weeks ago? I think it's on our Instagram. But Cardi Bull and Floyd are the type where they're gonna go in. You know what I mean? And they don't care what it is. Bear, lion, um, shit, T-Rex, it don't matter. So them two I gotta be a little more careful with. But in overall, King's gonna be playing a huge guardian role on the premises. Between him and Floyd peeing on everything and them being able to detect Floyd's testosterone levels and King's size through his urine, through their urine. We're hoping that kind of settles things down. I'll be making a lot of noise, playing music loud, all that good stuff to keep things away. But yeah, you do have to be careful with that. The other thing is coyotes, fox, even rabbits, squirrels, they bring on fleas and things like that. But so we're hoping to kind of clear things out through the first couple of weeks. Just by having these large, dogs roaming the property. They have about an acre and a half that they'll have to kind of take over and get their smell known on. Let's see, Dion, that's harsh. Even I wouldn't use such a tool. I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. What is this? Bolt cut. I think it was a few months old. Taped it with gauze and taped it. Wow. That's terrible. If I'm going to use a bolt cutter, I would just let the dog have the tail. Um, wow. Yeah, that's kind of wild. Let's see here. This was in the 80s. Well, shit, in the 80s, there's no telling what people were doing. Let me see here. What other comments we got before we get to the next? H-Town, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Bowser Bullies from Canada, thanks for joining in. How old after 3 days, especially if older than a week old, it's freaking amputation and dangerous. And Effing cruel. I agree. The tail in the beginning, in the 3 days, is there's very little there. After that, that cartilage and everything and bone starts to harden. And to me, I wouldn't. For some reason, they docked Floyd's tail when he was a pup. Um, Let me see here. What else we got? I just use Victor High Pro Plus, adding whatever, bananas, carrots, whatever. You got to think about what, I don't know what high pro, but I'm assuming high pro means high protein, and there's no need for any of our dogs to be on high protein unless they're actually working. And most of these dogs aren't working. Um, John Stevens said, I've been oh, he's talking to someone else. Let's see, Dion, that's too much protein. See, there you go. You'll eventually deal with rickets, burnt liver, bladder, and kidney stones, and a dead dog before it's time. Solo said red cell and dine daily supplement. No, there's no need for those. Red cell, dime, those are things that got popular in the fight world, in the hunting world. And I don't know of any herding dog breeders that used any of those. But that's what that's for. You don't need them for pets. Red cell, dime, none of that. You don't need it for pets. Um, Now that's another thing. How you said it's good. Okay, so let me read your whole comment because I try to tell people it was made for sick dogs, but they seem to think they know better. Yeah, if you have a dog that is low in energy or is sick or has been injured and is recovering, red cell and dine are perfect for that. But when you hear bully breeders talking about how they feed red cell and dine and they don't do anything with their dogs, it's the dumbest shit in the world. Again, it's like I said earlier. Some people just feel good that they're learning. It doesn't matter what they're learning. They're more impressed by learning things than they are by knowing things and by being able to use things correctly. But yeah, there's no if you're not doing anything with your dog other than trying to get your dog to heal faster, get on its feet faster. If you got a healthy dog, nothing wrong with it, and you're breeding American bullies or you own one, there's no need for red cell and dime whatsoever. Um, Let's see. I feel that one deep. Nobody want to hear it. Let's see. Bell was an innocent boy who was asked to hold his pup down while he did it. No to red cell. There's no need for the bullies to need red cell. Dine is good if they are sick or won't eat. There you go. Let me see here. As I said, I mix it so the ratio is down. So you're mixing it with other things like fruits, veggies, because if you're feeding high pro, then there's no need to add meat to it because unless depending on how much meat. But if you're mixing it, then that's a little better. But you got to know how you're doing it. Let me see here. Yes, my pups got their second to last parvo shots, and one adult pup killed a rabbit in my yard today. I saw that. John Stevens, no vet. Wait a minute. Oh, one adult. Okay, there's no such thing as adult pups, Dion. You have me confused on that. No vet clinics in my area will dock tails after 3 days old anymore. I didn't know that. I thought they stopped doing that years ago. I do kibble with quarter legs at night. There you go. That's perfect. G Moneyback said I use Victor beef and brown rice flavor mixed with puppy chow for my little guys. There you go. As I said above, with carrots, banana, other things. There you go. So you're mixing it up. So that way you're not using what's up, Dom? So Dion basically, so like what Dion's saying is, and another thing, people, a lot of times I get people who will hit me up and they'll say, I want to do a consultation. And I'm like, okay, what do you want to do the consultation on? They'll do it. I want to do it on nutrition and feed. And I'm like, okay, cool. And they'll go ahead, they'll cash out me their $50 for the consultation. We'll get on the call. And I'm like, how old is your dog? Oh, it's 4 years old. Well, what is it you need to know? What's the problem? Oh, there's no problems, it's doing fine, but I need to know what. I just send them their money back. You don't need anything. You're doing fine. Just continue doing what you're doing. If it's working for you, let it keep working. What you don't want to do is do too much because then that can backfire on you as the dog gets up in age. But like if you look at what Dion's saying, he feeds a high protein dog food. In my opinion, it's unnecessary. But he's feeding less than what's on the bag. And that's what I was gonna say. Read the directions to your bag and then adjust it accordingly. Because all dogs are different. All dogs do have a different metabolism. They could be the same height, same weight, and have a totally different metabolism. So read the directions on your bag and do what your bag says to do. If you see your dog is losing weight, then go ahead and make an adjustment from there. If you see your dog is gaining too much weight, go ahead and make an adjustment from there. That adjustment, you're typically going to need to look at the dog every 10 to 14 days. So stick with what the dog food says to do. So if you look at Dion, let's say the dog food says what he's feeding says give him 2 cups. What Dion's doing is he's giving them less than 2 cups because he's also feeding carrots, bananas, and other things. So he's giving them slightly less. So that's how you want to think about when you're feeding, when you're using kibble. Let's see exactly. John the vet won't do it after 3 days. So talking about blending the food, he's doing it blended. About that time, exactly. Whitefish kibble. Lincoln's allergic to chicken. Makes Bailey's brindle real soft. Whitefish kibble. I don't know that I've seen that. What's up, Smooth? Thanks for joining in. Pitbull Bell says Solo is crazy at the people that use inappropriate things with bullies and overfeed and too much protein or even mixing things in the ratio is too hard to tell exactly what they're getting. And that's the truth, and for me, I don't measure anymore. I just kind of estimate, but I have an idea from doing it over the years of what it's supposed to look like. When you start this off and you're doing something new, go ahead, measure it out, get an eye of it, get an idea of it, and go from there. But if people are like Belinda said, people are the way they're mixing things, they're just throwing everything together, and we got to make sure that what we're doing has a reason. What's up, Max Cyborg 100? That's the old RoboCop. King Crow said best show ever, QBNK Mondays. Yes, it is. Let's see who else is in here. I think I'm a long ways behind. Cody said shout out to my fellow dogaholics. Hit the like button if you still want to hear Mr. Thor rap. That's not happening. But hit that like button anyway. Let's see. Sinatra, what's up? I gotta hit you up. I keep forgetting to hit you up. I want to do a live with you next Tuesday, actually. But I'm going to hit you up and we can discuss it and kind of figure that out. Let's see here. I think I'm a long ways from getting caught up. Yeah, I'm about half an hour from getting caught up. So let's go. Next topic. All right. So this was a more serious one. Are there bad bloods or just inexperienced breeders with bloods that they don't understand? Some of you saw there was a video. First, the video was sent to me, and I watched it, and it was basically this red dog. Matter of fact, hold on. I might be able to show it on here. Let me see here. Hold on, y'all. Let me see if I can do this. I only have 2 tabs. All right, y'all, get ready to watch. I think I'm becoming a savvy tech type of guy, Where is it? Boom, boom, boom. All right, here we go. Let's see if we can make this happen. And then I would go share, 2 slides, extra cameo, video files, share screen. Don't allow these tips again, share screen. Chrome tab. Nope. Windows. Nope. There's nothing on Windows. Okay, I got it. But let me see here. Hold on. That didn't work. Hold on. Let me figure this out. Hold on. All right. Why did it jump on? All right, let me open this back up. And we're going to share this. I want you guys to see this video. And we're going to talk about it. I want you guys to tell me what it is that you see. All right, so let me try this again. All right, so if I go to, oh, there it goes. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it. All right.
Oh, man, get out that ring. Get out that ring. He's coming for you. Get out that ring.
All right, so here we go. What happens is you're going to see, let me know if you guys can see it. But what's going to happen is there's going to be a judge that it looks like it's a fun show. There's going to be a judge that approaches the dog. That judge is then going to try to measure the head of the dog. And now, well, let's just go ahead and watch. And we'll go from there. And here you go. I don't know if you guys know.
25 and a half. That's very impressive right there, man. 25 and a half. Will Collins, everybody here on Facebook talking about their dog got a 32 inch head.
Oh, my God. Whoa. Oh, man, get out that ring. Get out that ring. He's coming for you. Get out that ring.
25.
All right, so that's the video. I think you guys saw it. Let me, how do I close this out or switch back to me? All right, there we go. So that's the video. Some people who saw of course, that video got a lot of traction. I actually had somebody send me the video, was like, I'm not going to post it or anything. They're saying you need to post this. I was like, nah, no need to do that. And I didn't post it due to the fact I thought it, just kind of a bad look on the breed. But here's another problem with it is a lot of people began posting it. So I went ahead and I did post it, just to kind of add a more educational factor to the situation. And what I put on it was I said, when breeding and owning for aesthetics, but temperament is not understood or ignored by the breeder and owner, problems arise. Not that there's a problem with the dog. I don't want no one measuring my head either, but the owner should have never had the dog at the event and should have seen signs in him that this wasn't his thing. Pay attention to the dog and you can see it coming. So basically, this is a dog that somehow in the years that this owner has owned this dog, that owner should have known this wasn't going to be a good place for this dog. People were saying, well, the show judge should have been aware of paying attention. And I agree. And it's a learning lesson for the show judge. But here's the thing. Sometimes we as dog enthusiasts not only put our trust in the owner, but we also get caught up in being so impressed by the dog we see that we're not paying attention. And now he gets all the way to the dog. And now he has to focus on numbers and making sure that everything's lined up so that he gives the correct measurement for the dog. So the attack takes place, and as you can see, not only does the dog snap at him, go for him, the dog somehow gets loose from the owner and then charges the judge off leash. My take on it is this. I thought it was weird that people were saying it was obvious that the dog was distracted. Apparently, this video actually was taken about 2 years ago. There was some type of agreement that nobody was going to promote the video or put it out there. It's being put out there now because one of the guys whose blood is affiliated with that dog does not want people thinking that he produced that dog, and apparently he and the owner have some type of issue where the dog was stolen or whatever it is that's going on. The other thing was people were saying, oh, it was not a problem with the dog or the owner or the breeder, just the dog was being aggressive because he saw the mask. But I want you to look at that. And when somebody says they saw the mask, and let's really pay attention to what we actually see here. If you watch the dog,
25 and a half. That's very
boom, first thing you see is he's paying attention to the hand. There's other people in there with masks. He's not concerned.
impressive.
He's following the hand. He goes back to the chest and body. Bam. He's going to focus on the hand again. Head is right. What does he go for? He goes for the hand. Bam. First bite was used not only to catch the hand, but was used to get his feet under line so that he can make a push forward, which is actually a good, smart dog. Once he gets his feet under them, he goes for him, and that's where you see him charging off. Even if you look at the bite, he doesn't go for the face, he's going for the chest area. That dog was just uncomfortable in his surroundings, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you were not breeding him. How do I get it back? Bam. Especially if he was not bred specifically for this and has not been socialized properly for this. And I think that's what happens in these types of videos. If you're going to have a show dog, you need to get a show dog from people who breed for show dogs. Then you need to take that dog and you need to socialize it based off of what it's going to deal with at a show. And we're not just talking about in the ring. We're talking about your entrance into the show. You're walking around the show arena. These are the things you have to think about as an owner. Who am I getting the dog from? Do they breed for what it is I want to do? And once I get the dog, am I putting the dog in all the scenarios that it's going to come across? Walking across parking lots, walking between cars, walking through thresholds, walking in crowds, being caged for a limited amount of times, walking into a show ring, being around other dogs, strangers that are going to be looking at the dog's mouth. I always say when they bring the Cane Corso or a Rottweiler or a Doberman, any type of guardian breed, whether they're guarding livestock, property, or human, when you bring a guardian breed into the ring and it allows a judge to look at its teeth and lift up its lips, that is a badly bred dog. I don't care what trophy it won at that show. The minute a Rottweiler, a Cane Corso, any guardian breed allows a judge to open its mouth and open its lips and manipulate its head and mouth, he is a badly bred dog, straight up. He should never be allowing anything as a guardian dog, allowing somebody it doesn't know to get the drop on him. Should the judge be able to pet the dog? Yes. Should the judge be able to approach the dog? Yes. Should the judge be able to manhandle a guardian breed? No. Any Cane Corso that allows it is badly bred. When we're looking at bullies, this is a breed that's supposed to allow this. We have to question ourselves as XL breeders. If we have created this breed from working breeds to turn it into a non-working breed, we've got to figure out an ability to balance the work. Otherwise, we're going to create a stupid animal. If we're going to replace protection drives and lower them from the breeds that were used to create this breed, then we have to figure out what drives are we going to increase to balance it out, to avoid creating a stupid animal. Because if all we're going to do is lower all the drives so that we can avoid the Cane Corso, the Rottweiler, the Presa Canario, the American Bulldog, the Pit Bull, and the Amstaff that was used to create this breed, then by lowering all these drives, we're just going to create a stupid animal. That's all it is. As you guys have heard me explain before, if you've ever been in a music studio and you see that big, huge track board, if I've got a deep voice, it's got to hit right with that bass guitar. One's got to come down to equal things out. Now, my buddy who's rapping with me with the high-pitched voice, or the girl that's singing with a high-pitched voice, she can ride that bass guitar all day. You know what I'm saying? But if I've got a deep voice, we've got an 808 kick drum plus a bass guitar going, they've got to even things out. Things have to be balanced. Temperament is no different than being in the studio. For those who have never been in the studio, think about your breedings when you're looking at your physical traits. People don't want to admit it, but temperament is a phenotype. The reason people don't want to admit that it's a phenotype is because they haven't learned to see it. When you learn to see the individual drives in a dog and the things that trigger those drives and the thresholds of those drives, that's the more you realize temperament is not something that's just a genotype, it's an actual phenotype. It is there to be seen, just like color, just like stiff stifles and all the other things we like talking about in the bully world. So we at some point have to look at this breed, especially those of us who are breeding the standards, and double especially those of us who are breeding XLs. We have to decide how we want to do it, how we want to go about it. Sometimes things, and if you use your common sense, you'll know what makes sense. I watched a guy do a live a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about how he had this female that was unpredictable. So he bred him to a fearful, he called the male a cur. He's a cur. He's fearful. He's scared of his own shadow. So he's breeding this, so he felt the balance was to breed an unpredictable female because she was aggressive to this non-aggressive male. That's terrible breeding. You're looking for something to go wrong. Why is this female unpredictable? Because the truth is, ain't no such thing as an unpredictable dog. You just haven't learned how to predict it. And the last thing I'm going to do is take something that I feel is unpredictable and breed that to something that I feel is a cur or is fearful or is afraid of its own shadow. They just both of them just don't need to be bred. Balance is what you're supposed to be breeding for. So when you look at a dog like that, I don't have a problem with that dog. He will work fine on my yard, in my house with me, my wife, and my kids. He just wouldn't be in the show ring. He just wouldn't be at PetSmart. We've had aggressive dogs here at our house. They do just fine with us. We make sure that they don't get out and they don't harm anybody else. When it comes to bullies, we're not going to be breeding for that. You know what I'm saying? We are breeding for a more social dog. But I also, as an XL, don't want, or any dog, don't want a dog that you can just take home with you because I'm not around and the dog is dumb. And that's what we were creating. You have to ask yourself, when somebody has a bully and that bully is an adult bully and it is stolen, it's not like pit bulls who are game bred, so they could easily be stolen because they're bred to be handled by the ref and by the opponent when you're trying to break up the fight. These are dogs that have been crossed with guardian breeds. And as we breed the guardian out of them, if we don't replace that with something, that protective drive, you can replace it with prey drive. You can replace it with purpose drive. The ability, and when I say purpose drive, that's the ability to switch from thing to thing, and that dog sticks with it. Whatever you change from, that's what that dog sticks to. If I want to play fetch, flirt pull, spring pull, teach you to sit, stay, roll over, whatever I have you doing, I can mix it all up, and that dog will do it just as much as I want because he wants to fulfill and do what I want to do. That is a purpose drive. And so we can replace these drives with other things if we're in, but we have to ask ourselves, why are we replacing it? If we're replacing the protective nature of a dog because we're uncomfortable with it, then maybe that means we shouldn't be breeding that style of dog, or maybe that means we shouldn't be breeding at all. Shouldn't we, if we're going to get into this breed, we need to be comfortable with the things that come with it, the negatives and the positives. But if there's way too many people getting into this breed, they all claim they bred game dogs. They didn't. They just bred game lines. None of their dogs were proven game dogs. Everybody claims they were doing something with dogs before they were doing this, but then they breed shit to shit. Or they make statements like I said earlier, I'm going to take this scary male and breed it to this unpredictable female to water down some of her unpredictableness. When you hear things like that, these are people who sometimes people can have 50 years of experience, but they're just dumb. They're like, one of their parents was dumb, so they're dumb, and they don't learn from experience. So it doesn't matter what they say or what they breed. They've been doing it long enough to regurgitate things and make things sound good. But their experience isn't doing anything for them because they don't have the wherewithal or genetic intelligence to take experience and capitalize off of it like the rest of us do. So somebody having experience should not impress you. I've been doing this for 20 years. Okay, great. But how come when I look in your yard, you got high rears? I've been doing this for 20 years and my dogs are hot. If you're breeding American bullies and you're bringing these dogs to shows, why have you been breeding for 20 years and your dogs are hot? Why have you been breeding for 20 years and you don't have a bloodline? There needs to be good reasons for this. Time off, going through things in life. There needs to be reasons for this. But if I'm looking at you as a person that's been breeding for 15, 20 years, and there's no gaps in between you breeding, but you still have issues with dogs in your yard, then you're in this for the money. And everything that you're saying is bullshit, especially when you're talking about temperament. Because what you're telling me that your dogs are hot. You're telling me that your dogs can be unpredictable. You're telling me that your dogs can need to be with experienced dog owners. But then you're also telling me that I'm supposed to breed to the written standard. Well, everything you just described about your dog's temperament ain't per the written standard. So you shouldn't be telling me shit. Matter of fact, you probably shouldn't be breeding. Matter of fact, you're probably only doing this for money. You know, a lot of these breeders, I'm hearing them now complaining about I can't get rid of pups. People aren't buying pups. People are saying they're going to buy my pups. They turn around and they're not buying my pups. Get off the fucking internet. Get known in your community for dogs. That's what this is about. People should be coming to you for dogs. You don't have to have a litter every time one of the bitches in your yard goes into heat. You see what I'm saying? Think about this. We had our last was a year ago. Our last breeding was done, I want to say about 3-4 months ago. And before that, we didn't have any breedings. There was no reason to breed. There was no reason for it. But what happens is you get these breeders in here, and every time a female goes in the heat, they got to breed. Oh, and then they got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 females on their yard, and everybody's got to be bred because they're just in it for the money. Temperament means nothing. They want to get a look that they hope they can fulfill, or they hope their online, what would you call it, persona is going to garner them a certain amount of inquiries and a certain amount of sales. But if you got dogs that you can't get rid of, what was making you breed? If you got dogs you can't get rid of, you should have been able to keep that. You either should have been keeping that whole litter and then decided not to. Even I'm not even sure that really applies. Why do you have dogs that you can't get rid of? Why are you breeding if you don't have the clientele? Well, what will they say? I had 10 people wanted dogs. I had 3 pups in the litter, and then all 10 of them backed out. If you're just getting into breeding, why are you not keeping the whole entire litter so that you can see how they develop? You're just getting into breeding, and you're not keeping the entire litter. So on this breed's only 30 years old, 20 to 30 years old. You're a brand new breeder. We already know the breed is inconsistent. You're a brand new breeder. You've decided you want to breed XL American Bullies, the most inconsistent class of this new inconsistent breed. And you're not keeping the whole litter to watch how it develops. That is why we have the problems in this community that we have. People are way too into this for money. And a lot of times people really don't tell you. When you talk to me as a breeder, I just automatically assume a certain amount of experience, a certain amount of watching puppies develop mentally and physically. And the more I get involved in the community, the more I realize, no, when a person doesn't say they've done something and you don't ask them if they did something, chances are they never did it. You know what I mean? That's the community we're in. So if you are a new breeder and your neighbors don't know you for dogs, your family members don't know you for dogs, your coworkers don't know you for dogs, and you've decided you want to breed this new inconsistent breed, and you want to breed the most inconsistent class of this new inconsistent breed, be ready to not get rid of all those pups. And that could be a blessing because now you get to watch how they develop. If that's not a blessing, it's a problem, you probably shouldn't be breeding. You need to start just walking, take the dogs that you have and let people watch you teach them to sit and stay and roll over and play dead and do protection or work the flirt pole. Let people be impressed by you with your dog and then eventually impressed by you with their dogs before you start breeding. Don't just jump into this game. And if you're gonna jump in this game, be prepared to keep an entire litter. Be prepared to turn to people that know these dogs. Myself, Sinatra, Belinda. There's a lot of people on here in these lives that not only are interacting with you, but they know these dogs. Think about it. They're giving you an answer to some of your questions in the comments 30 minutes before I get to it. And then when I get to it, I'm telling you the same thing they're saying, and I haven't seen their answer. Some of them, I'm telling you, I don't know. And then I see their answer, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Belinda's right. That makes sense. Or I didn't know that. Belinda's saying something that makes sense, but I didn't know that. These are the people you want to turn to. And here's something else. I used to let people hit me up in this, and I would go ahead and I would do consultations. Well, I didn't even call them consultations; they were just phone calls. Eventually, I realized I was taking away time from. Not only was I doing the lives to educate the community, I was doing them whether I had a litter on the ground or not. Watch most of these breeders, and the only time they go live and they educate the community is when they got a litter on the ground. The first thing they're going to tell you is, you know what? I'm going to start educating the community. Blah, 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 blah. This is what I do. This is what I feed. This is the way I think, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden that litter's gone and they're gone too. Start looking at these things. When you see somebody's talking about how great their pups are and their pups got bellies that are touching the ground at 8 weeks old, when the dog sits down, that belly ain't supposed to be touching the ground. Think about what you're seeing. Weak pasterns, stiff stifles, high rears. Think about what you're seeing when you're dealing with breeders. If somebody's been dealing with this breed 5 to 10 years, there's going to be issues because this breed is full of issues. When you start, I'm going to take back 10 years. Let's say 7 years, 5 to 7 years. There's going to be issues, especially if they don't do a lot of breedings. But if they've been having a litter every year for 7 to 10 years, there should be minimal flaws. You should not be able to see flaws in that dog unless you are standing in front of it. But we're not like that in this breed. And we're just talking about the physical attributes of the dog. Now let's get into the temperament of the dog. Let's talk about this video. Who's at fault here? You got somebody that bred this dog and they decided they were going to give it or sell it to someone else. This someone else put the dog in the show ring and the dog attacked somebody. Obviously, the owner should have been able to recognize that there's an issue with this dog, that this dog has a low tolerance for things that humans might do. Obviously, the owner's also at fault because they didn't even have a good grip on the dog. Now, somebody else said that maybe the dog turned to attack the handler or owner, and that's why the leash was dropped. I dealt with people's dogs that were loose cannons, and the dog turned to go at them, and I grabbed the leash. The dog turns to now go at me, and I handle that dog. I'm not letting that leash go, especially if I know that person happens. Worst scenario I ever had was a dude. I was working with him, and he had a Rottweiler. I was working with him. His wife and son were out, and it was against my better judgment to have them outside. And anyway, they were outside. I'm working with him, and his wife and son come outside. He said once the dog had never snapped at his son, but had snapped at him, had snapped at his wife. So we're working with the dog, and the dog, this was, I think, my second or third time being at their home. And the dog, was doing pretty good. And then all of a sudden he turned on. Well, I don't have a fear of getting bit. Not that I'm going to put my hand in the dog's mouth, but I don't have a fear of getting bit that's going to put me or you in a position where I'm going to allow you to get bit, especially if you paid me to come out and work with you on behavior issues with your dog. So my thing is I'll take the bite. I ain't no huge big dude, but ain't no dog taking me out. I don't care how big the dog is, it's still a dog. But my problem is I don't want to beat the shit out of the dog in front of its owner. That's my issue. Um, so how do I deal with the dog on a minimal basis physically, but still keep myself safe and protected while the dog is in catch mode? That's more the dilemma that I'm in dealing with a dog. But that dog never should have got loose from that handler, regardless of why he let go. And that's what I mean about people dealing with these breeds, especially these large breeds, and they're not ready for it. And they're not ready for it because you don't know what you're getting from people. One of the other topics was blood, and it's been coming up a lot this week. A lot of people are very anti Genghis Khan, what they call GK blood, and Kimbo blood. There's a couple other ones out there that they're anti this dog. And we have to ask ourselves, on a scatterbred breed, such as the American Bully, are these bloods, and when most of the time they're not even a true bloodline, are they really what people say they are? And I think it's not so much the dogs as it is the people. For example, we know Kimbo, or not Kimbo was a dog that was considered producing dogs that were prone to bite people, even kill people. People were knowing this and still breeding for looks. They weren't breeding for the temperament of the dog. They were breeding strictly for looks. So therefore, what ends up happening is I take this dog that is known to be hot. I'm going to breed him to this female because she's cool. She's never bitten or attacked anybody. But I really like her head. But I have no understanding of drives. I have no understanding of thresholds within drives. I have no understanding of how thresholds make up drives and drives make up temperament. And I'm going to breed her because she's never eaten a baby. She hasn't yanked down any helicopters. So far, she just seems like a normal dog. But you don't know anything about her because you don't do anything with her. You can't take, and I used to have this rule when I was young, before American Bullies, you can't take a breed that stands taller than the kneecap and do nothing with them. You've got to do things with them to understand. So when I say taller than the kneecap, I'm talking like right about 15 inches. Anything over that, you need to have a better understanding of what this dog is about. Now, actually, I could take that down to 13 inches. Anything over 13 inches, I think Fox, as a Jack Russell, was right at about 10, 11 inches. She was a small dog. When you start getting over 13, 14, 15 inches, you need to have an understanding of what this dog is about. And we don't do anything with these dogs. So we don't understand temperament. We're just breeding for looks, hoping things don't go wrong, crossing our fingers, and then something goes wrong. And what are we doing? We're hiding it. So the blame has to be on both the judge and also, not the judge, I'm sorry about that. It has to be on the breeder. And in this situation, the owner. Now, had it been the owner that got bit, now we're looking at the breeder. And that's the way you got to look at these situations. When owners and family members of the dog, pack members of the dog get bit, that's the breeder's blame. When people outside the family get bit, that is the breeder and the owner of the dog's problem. That is their fault. Those are the people to blame. How do we fix this in our community? I really don't know. There are too many people. I had a guy that posted. Listen to this comment. so you can understand the retardedness that we deal with in our community. Where's this post? This guy says to me, now this was supposed to be an insult. And what he says to me, where is it? Here we go. No, that's not it. Hold on. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Shoot, I can't find it. Anyway, what the guy basically told me is, you don't know anything about American bullies because you breed tall dogs, which anybody knows we own one tall dog, but that's not what we breed. But you breed tall dogs that are athletic and more functional and healthy than what American bullies are supposed to be. Think about that. That was an insult to me. You breed dogs that are more functional than what American bullies, more functional and healthy than what American bullies are supposed to be. That was his insult. That's the community that we're in. That's the ignorance that what's up, Eric? Thanks for joining in, man. But that's the ignorance that we are surrounded by. And that is the ignorance that is creating some of these best looking dogs, some of these worst looking dogs, some of the best temperament dogs, and some of the worst temperament dogs. Because a lot of people are just getting lucky. So we really do need to gain a better understanding of temperament. I am soon going to be going through doing a temperament series for Tuesday, and we're going to break down various drives, how to test for thresholds as pups, adult dogs, things like that, all the way from, but we're going to start from scratch, which is, you've got this pup. What do? You become a breeder. You take this pup, you become a breeder. You decide you want to breed. What are you looking for in the female or male that you want to pair it with? Now you bred the dogs. Now you got a litter. What are the things that you do to test the thresholds within each of the drives? Which drives are important? We're going to turn it into a series. I want to do it. Hopefully Sinatra agrees to do an interview with me next Tuesday on, how he got into the bully game and what he's noticed. And then the Tuesday after that is when we'll probably start the temperament series. The thing is, I want to get it together, and I want to make sure that everybody's able to look at it and walk away from it with some form of understanding. Let's see, you can soak also, but let's get back to the comments, and because that's pretty much the end of the topics. You can also try soaking in the chicken in a bowl, etc., by itself in vinegar for at least an hour or longer, and try that as well. Hold on. I heard that the other day was going to test it out. I'll know right away he's getting super pink, then breaks. Okay, soaking it in vinegar to assist with allergies. Okay, I got you. G Money Bags, is grandfather to granddaughter inbreeding or line breeding? Grandfather to granddaughter is considered a line breeding. Inbreeding is if you take the people that live in a house, that's considered inbreeding. Father, daughter, mother, son, sister, brother. Those are inbreeding. Once you step outside that to grandparents, aunties, those are, or even half siblings, those are now tight inbreedings or close inbreedings. King Dutch, what's up, man? Pitbull Bell said, Eric, and split the skin is usually always the culprit. All the hormones chickens are fed settles in the fat of the skin. This is very true. If you peel the skin of the chicken, typically your dog will be okay. Even boiling it helps, but if your dog is showing allergies to chicken, don't give up on the chicken. Start taking the skin off and then start giving it and see how the dog does with that. Also, remember, up under the skin and in the pockets, there's a lot of that little yellow fat and all that stuff up in there. Clean that and get all that stuff out if your dog's showing. My wife is grossed out by that stuff. But if your dog, I personally think it's added flavor. But But if your dog is showing chicken allergies, don't give up on chicken right away. Start peeling the skin off, try boiling it, things like that. Don't give up on the chicken right away. But fast it. As soon as you notice the allergies, fast the dog for 24 hours. Then make sure that you take the dog off the chicken, let the allergies go away, whatever you're seeing, and then go ahead, reintroduce the chicken, but reintroduce it in a separate form, boil, without skin, etc. But try removing that skin first. Belinda is 100% correct on that. Sure, Rice, oh, no kidding. I can try that too. I use it in their water. Cameron said, if you're 4 generations in without any inbreeding beforehand, your breeding coefficients aren't so far blown out, you're not locking in anything. If you're 4 generations in without any, okay, well, but if you're 4 generations in, even through line breeding, your coefficient of inbreeding. Okay, when they say coefficient, a lot of them call it COI, coefficient of inbreeding. The coefficient is still going to be a little higher. I had a bunch of people who got mad at me. I personally don't agree with the coefficient of inbreeding formula and that whole thought process, due to the fact that once you have a purebred dog, the coefficient is automatically high. And I know it's cool to learn these types of things, and it really sounds cool, and scientists and vets get all into it, and we feel like we have the equal understanding that they have. But the truth is, it's bullshit. And the reason I know it's bullshit is because you can inbreed especially your old school, old family red nose. Their coefficient of inbreeding, and actually, let me take that back. Your old school Irish, old family reds, their coefficient of inbreeding can be through the roof, and you will not have any structural issues. You will not have any temperament issues. There won't be any performance issues. Their drives don't go dull. That science doesn't work with them. My Jack Russell was an inbred dog, highly inbred dog. Floyd was a highly inbred dog. There was no dulling, no deformities. Floyd's structure is immaculate. His angulation, bone, everything was always immaculate. Now he looks he's old, so his posture isn't the same as what it used to be. But that whole coefficient of inbreeding, and these were healthy dogs. That's the other thing. Ability and performance somehow offset coefficients of inbreedings, all the catastrophes that are supposed to happen from breedings. And when you breed for cognition, intelligence, when you breed for ability, this offsets a lot of those numbers. For some reason, you're able to get away with these higher numbers. So what my thing is this: you're going to have clues. If you pay attention to your dogs, you're going to have clues before the coefficient of inbreeding becomes an actual factor. And those clues, if you start getting involved with your dogs, those clues are going to be a dullness in drive, or a extreme, erratic drive, slight deformities, thicker bone, slight bows, things like that will pop up. Eyes are a little too close together or a little too far apart. You'll notice little different things like that. So you should be able to do line breeding all the way up until the point where you do a final inbreeding. But you've got to look at your dogs, and you also got to remember the pedigree of your dog, so that you know, am I breeding this dog to this dog, and this dog has King Kong in it 10 times, and this dog has King Kong in it 5 times, and now I'm getting ready to breed them. These are the things you have to pay attention to. But I wouldn't worry so much about COI, which is coefficient of inbreeding. But at the same time, kind of like Cameron said, if the 4 generations in and there hasn't been any inbreeding, you should be cool. The problem is there could be some line breeding that's done. And depending on how tight that line breeding is, you want to be paying attention to the development of your dogs. You definitely do not want to be doing line breeding and inbreeding when you haven't watched those dogs for at least a year and a half. Should be closer to 2 on males and females. You want to see how they develop mentally and physically before you do that next line breeding, and especially inbreeding. Too many people are taking males that are only a year or so old. Female hits second litter, then bam, second heat, and then bam, they do an inbreeding. And you haven't even finished watching how those dogs are going to develop mentally and physically, and that's a problem. Also, they inject chickens in packaging with something to preserve and make it, and to make it way more. That's terrible if they're doing that. I know preservatives, but to make it way more, make your own sauerkraut or use kimchi. I have not used kimchi. I've heard it's great, but making your own sauerkraut is one of the best things you can do. What's up, Jeremiah? Thanks for joining in. Kimchi, but without onions. Yes, very true. I don't know anything about kimchi. I've never made it. But if onions are used to make it, I would make sure that there's no onions in it. Grandfather to granddaughter is loose inbreeding. It's a favorite of mine to lock in what I want. I personally like the grandfather to granddaughter breedings. We call it in my circle. We call that a close line breeding. But it is one of the best breedings. Is it gonna lock it in as much as a father to daughter? No, but you also don't tend to get some of the discrepancies or some of the negative traits that you might get. So you can know a grandfather carries this negative trait, but doesn't show it in his phenotype, and a granddaughter carries a negative trait, but doesn't show it in her phenotype, and breed them together to fix issues, while at the same time really locking in that blood, not locking it in like father to daughter, but pretty much like an inbreeding, but pretty much, getting it as close to locked in without it going bad. And that's why I like grandfather to granddaughter breeding. I typically like to take a grandfather to granddaughter breeding and to fix things and lock things in. I will take that back out to do a distant line breeding to a dog that, not even distant, but do a line breeding, one more line breeding to a dog just to get a little bit of fresh blood in there. And then I will go ahead and do a inbreeding to go ahead and lock that in for good. And then bam, you go to an outcross or distant line breeding once that inbreeding is done. Even grandfather to granddaughter, you kind of want to be ready to have. Always remember, when you're dealing with grandparents on the grandchildren, father, daughter, anything in that, you want to have an idea of what your outcross is going to be, or your distant line breeding. A G Money is USY, that's a line breeding. Let's see, cool deal. That was the Spirit Rider. Sauerkraut is always my go-to, raw pumpkin. And start out with a little. Some dogs won't have nothing to do with sauerkraut. Raw pumpkin, I love pumpkin. A tad of minced garlic fresh, but leave the garlic set a few minutes. Yes, let your garlic air out 5 to 10 minutes. Crush it or cut it up in small pieces. Let it air out. That way I don't know if you call them enzymes, but that way those things that we all want to get from the garlic become activated once the oxygen gets into it. Cody XL said, Pitbull Bell, I follow you. Always want to hear the rap or hit the let's see. Appreciate your answer, fam. No problem. PBB thinks both of my pups' grandfathers are dope, and I want to build off their look. There you go. There's nothing better than having a dog close in your pedigree and you like everything about that dog and can go from there. What qualities should you look for in weight pull dogs in terms of structure and drives? Weight pull is 100% a purpose drive thing. Prey drive helps. due to the fact a lot of times you can use that to get the dog going and learning what it is you want it to do. But weight pull is extreme. That's like figuring out a dog's purpose drive. There is nothing in a dog's instincts and nothing that a dog gets out of pulling weight other than you being happy. So that lets you know the purpose drive in a dog. As far as weight pull, you just want a dog that's comfortable. A dog that I mean, shit, you got Yorkies, you got all kinds of dogs doing weight pull. So I don't know that there's something specific I would be looking in, especially if you're doing it for fun. Now, if you're doing it for win, it's gonna be depend on the breed. I would want a dog that's got decent angulation in it. I would want a dog that has, a lot of weight pull dogs have weak pasterns. I don't believe that's something that was developed due to necessity. I think it was developed due to them not giving a shit. As long as the dog can pull the weight, especially if you think about the motion that the dog is using with its front feet, you would think stronger pasterns would be needed. So I would definitely look at the dog structure. Make sure that the dog has decent structure, and then from there, it's about getting them started gradual. First, getting them, used to the harness, getting the dog conditioning. As far as stamina, you want to use that spring pull. You want to do sprints, agility, things that work on agility, bouncing the ball. You want to eventually put that harness on the dog, get the dog used to it. A lot of times these weight pull tracks are on metal tracks, things like that. They're pulling bricks, things that are just awkward and make noise. So, get a couple milk cartons and some cans and put them in a bag and get the dog to pull that, so that the dog can actually hear that noise and know that what I'm doing is causing that noise to take place behind me and get comfortable with it. From there, you want to start adding weight, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, get it kind of used to the weight. And then from there, you start building it and you go and you build on. You don't need to put the amount of weight that your dog will see in competition. So that's not an issue, but you do want to start, gradually increasing the weight more and more, getting your dog to pull it further and further. In the competition, the dog's only pulling it a short distance, but start gradually and start building the dog's muscles accordingly for it immediately if you're going to get into it. And one of the best ways to do that is the spring pull. It really builds up the back of the dog. Make sure that you're keeping the back legs on the ground. Don't have the dog hanging. Yes, no, don't hit the like button if you want me to rap. Let's see. What else do we got here? Chicken feet are good glucosamine. Chicken feet are great glucosamine. It's got a little bit of bone in it. So it's also good, but I wouldn't necessarily, if you're feeding outside of kibble, basically mean you're feeding raw, so you need to now include. Kibble comes ready with all that stuff in it. So if you're the problem with kibble is the ability to digest it, which is why as I'm preparing my dog's food, the first thing I do is I put kibble in the bowl, then I pour water over it so the kibble has the time to soak up that water while I'm preparing everything else. And that makes it easier for the dog to digest it. Let's see. I give my dogs whole chickens. WKR said, Daryl, when hunting, at what age did you start grooming young dogs for the hunt? Immediately. I start them depends on what they're going to hunt, for one thing. So with my Jack Russell, I knew she was going to be used as a bait dog for coyote. I also knew that she was going to be hunting rabbits. So she was basically trained on coyote scent and rabbit scent. And I started her, my working dogs, I like to get them at 6 weeks. So I started her early on, to find a toy that she likes, usually some type of soft toy that I'll play tug of war with. I'll spray rabbit scent on that. And then I'll have another toy that's the same thing, but I'll spray coyote scent on that. So it just depends on what it is. But I start them early, conditioning their mind for it early, hiding toys throughout the house, hiding things throughout the house, getting them to use their mind. The nose is one of the greatest avenues to get in tune with the dog's mind. Same thing when you get in your yard, do the same thing. And just drag the toy, whatever it is, around the yard, hide it somewhere, let the dog go look for it until they find it. You want to get involved and do very little encouragement with your working dogs. You don't want to encourage, you want to praise when they've succeeded. You don't want to do a whole lot of encouragement. You just kind of want to follow them. You might kind of help them, get them on the right track. You smell it, you put your hand on the ground to let them know, smell here, and then bam, they get on the trail. Then afterwards, you want to start, instead of dragging the scent, you want to kind of hop it from spot to spot to spot so that they learn to smell the air and use the air. Work from there. So it really depends on what you're hunting, but whatever you're going to be doing, starting them off early. If you're breeding cat, I see you do bite work, so I would assume you're probably going to be into catch dogs. If you're breeding catch dogs, start them off early. They need to learn to tuck their feet when they're pups, roughhousing with their heads and manipulating their heads, grabbing them by the shoulders, reaching in, grabbing that chest, thumping their feet real quick, getting them to just basically teaching them to move and avoid things, but still have fun while you're moving and avoiding. You might even go through a little bit of pain when I pinch you a little bit and we get into it, we have fun, but this is still fun. Just sometimes it's going to hurt. That's no different than we was playing football. Every now and then you hurt yourself. You got hurt, smashed a finger, sprang an ankle. You were still having fun though. You need to groom pups that are working in the same manner. But it really depends on what it is that you plan on doing or what it is you plan on hunting. Coyote hunting was tricky because fox, until I actually got a actual coyote lure that I could turn on and it will flop all over the ground. Fox was my girl. I would teach her to stay and she would stay. I walk off with the other dogs about 20, 30 yards. We hide by a bush. We sit there watching. And then she knew after a couple clicks that it was okay for her to start moving around. And she'd start moving around, and I just start hitting that coyote caller. The coyotes would hear the coyote caller. They see her. They start making their way in to go and get her. And then I'd go ahead and I'd whistle for her. Sometimes she'd come running. She never realized that the coyote's coming after her. So she'd come running to me, because she would be thinking I would make a clicking sound, something that would get her to think we found something that you haven't found. So she would come full speed thinking that, okay, now I'm going to get something. When in reality, what we're doing is we're waiting for her and she's bringing the coyote in. And when the coyote would come in after her, that's when I'd let Floyd and Kayla go. And if I had Sasha with me, her too. And as long as they were within 20 yards, Kayla would run them down, catch them, and then Floyd finished off the rest. But so I started off using Fox as a lure dog until I actually bought an electrical lure. So it just depends on what you're hunting, how you're hunting it, what type of dogs you're hunting it with. Spirit said I'm definitely going to try it. My Bailey comes from one of the best raw guys I know. We'll love to use his mixes. 80% meat. Okay, so M saying 80% meat, 10% organ, 10% bone. So I think I was saying 5-1-1. M's basically saying 8-1-1 is what they're breaking it down to. Let's see. Shoot, if you have hog hunters, you should know by 12 weeks old if they are interested. Yeah, you're going to know. You're going to see that drive in them early. I like to take every now and then you can go places and just find like that stuffed animal, but take that stuffed animal by the smallest piece of it. And you need like a head leg so that when you drag that thing, it's not dragging smoothly. It's kind of bouncing around. That's the object you're looking for. And you want to drag that and get that pup to get into it. And if he goes after it, once he grabs it, typically that pup at 12 weeks old is still small enough where that animal that you're dragging and pulling is bouncing around. If you see that pup is locking on, you'll know. You can tell by the way they play tug of war. You'll have a very good idea. Some will commit to a bite if you are able to catch piglets and take. See now, and if you got access to piglets, that's another thing. When we moved to Arkansas, I've got a cousin that traps hogs out there, so I'm gonna have access to that. If you got access, especially you guys that live in the South, a lot of you have access. If you live in California, San Bernardino, you may have access. Up north, may have access. But if you got access to piglets for small pups, you're gonna know right off the bat. And don't be shocked when that piglet fights back just as hard as that dog. Females are vessels. Gamecock people usually never fight the hens. Think about it. There you go. Donna said, here in the UK, we can buy raw in what's called a complete. We buy it in 454 grams and up. They are all 80% meat, 10% bone, 10% organs. Okay, so you guys are doing 8, 10, 8, 1, and 1. So easy rather than working it all out. Do they not do? You know what? I think in the US they do have packaged meats. I don't know the ratios. I've never looked into them, so I don't know what the ratios are. Let's see. Betsy Spirit Rider said no. Laugh out loud. Only a few raw guys watch their mixes like that. So yeah, see, I don't know how they really do their mixes. No, I'm not doing no wraps. Quality brew, bitch, is priceless. Exactly. And that's why I hear people throw the word brewed out kind of loosely. Same thing with the word tool. Now, in their true definitions, a brood bitch, a brood male, they're just dogs that you're going to use for breeding. A tool typically is a brood dog you're going to use for breeding, but you know the direction that tool is going to take you. That tool, though, is typically, we in the bully community call anything that's fucked up with thick bone a tool. That's not what a tool is. It shouldn't be fucked up at all. Because that means it's going to give you thick bone, but you don't know the other direction it's going to take you. So really, that's just a brood dog. It's not necessarily a tool. But when we used to talk, when I talk to dog men in my circle, a brood bitch or a brood dog is just a dog that we're going to use and may not be exactly sure what specific direction it's going to take us. The tool is the dog that we know when we breed to this is exactly what I'm looking to get off of it. So that's how we usually use those words. Whether we were using it are using it correctly or not. Benevolent Bull family, what's up? Say yo, what's up? Daryl, thanks for the live. Always dropping jewels. Hit that. Yes, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. We're at 2 hours. Let's see. Rossette is in here. Coach said, all I know is I'm going to be pissed if I find out. Nah, that's not happening. Let's see here. Yeah, we all want to. Nope, it's not happening. There was Merles in this past Saturday show that BTK and Rolando threw. But was that a sanctioned show or just kind of a fun show or meet and greet? Because I think Merles are going to be in our shows. And if it was sanctioned, what registry was it? I want to say ABKC has a Merle dog. It just doesn't have Merle phenotype, but it's got Merle genetics. And that dog is, I'm not going to say grand champ, but I want to say the dog is champ. So we're going to have Merles. Daryl's name was exactly. If the rear end isn't as wide as the shoulders, I don't want it. I agree with that 100%. I'm very picky on that when it comes to females, especially. I want that rear needs to be as wide as the shoulders. Let's see. Mr. J, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us. Yes, and hit that like button. I used to have an extreme pocket in Thailand. I guess I like bullies with bigger chests than rears, but breed mine to be athletic. We're not perfect yet in my eyes. Yeah, the reason you want your rear to be the equivalent of your front is due to the fact, excuse me, is due to the fact the rear end of the dog is the engine of the dog. It is where everything is coming from. It is there, the front end of the dog is made to direct, and made to maintain, to achieve momentum and maintain momentum. The rear of the dinner's ready? Okay. Um, huh? The same one that the microwave's plugged to? It keeps going out now. Um, the Okay. The rear of the dog is made to boost things forward. So and to keep things going. So you figure when the dog's young and is playing, you want that rear and shoulders to be the same width, because that rear is going to be maintaining. As the dog gets older, 6, 7, well, not 6, but we're talking like 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, 17. You want a dog whose rear was as the equivalent of its front, because it's still going to be using it to maintain it just in its basic day-to-day movement. So that's why you want them to be there. So you want a big chest, that's cool. Just make sure the rear wrap backs it up. Dan G said when breeders moved away from APBTs to create the bully, what were they trying to create or improve upon? They were trying to, I think initially, they were trying to create a little more massive dog, little more bone, little more muscle. Like you'll hear them say pit bull on steroids. The other thing they were aiming to create was a dog that was less dog aggressive. And because the pit bull and the Amstaff already should not be human aggressive. So all they were trying to do was create more bone, more mass, more muscle, less dog aggression, a more even kill temperament. But I think they got away from that. And next thing you know, they were so focused on big heads, thick bone, and all this stuff that they got away from it. Let's see. I like my XLs to have a bit more chest. Yeah, chest should definitely be there. That should just be in the bully. Period. Let's see. James Galloway said they breed it because money is the only concern, and there is an idiot born every minute that they can convince is what a bully is supposed to be. 100% true. WKR said form follows function, function follows purpose, purpose follows the breeder. Exactly. Rose said 76 people in here. Hit that like button. Yeah, hit that like button. PBP finest. That is not easy to say fast 10 times. I'm from New York, Queens, just live in Richmond, Virginia. Family First Kennels, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Let's see here. What else do we got? We went through all the topics, so now we're just going through the nose. From whitefish and sweet pea potato is 23% protein and high quality. Okay, now she said whitefish kibble earlier. So is that what you're saying? Whitefish kibble and sweet pea potatoes, 23% protein? And 23 is cool. 18 to 23 is good. You know what I'm saying? When you start getting over 23, that's when it's starting to push it. 24 is not bad. You start getting over 23, though, you're starting to push it. I myself can't keep up with people always saying dogs are 5 times this. Exactly. None of that matters if it don't carry the traits. I don't think we follow each other on. I'm almost certain I follow you on IG. I'm not on IG a lot though. We're about to pick that up soon, but I'm not on IG a lot. But I'm almost certain I follow you on IG. Maybe not. If we're not, we need to fix that. And if we're not, follow me, message me so that I can make sure I follow you. Exactly. Inbreeding is BS. Inbreeding is BS. No, it's definitely not BS. Oh, here we go. I myself can. Oh, okay. Yeah. He's talking about doubling up on all the names, Dion, not necessarily inbreeding. Because if you're trying to create a bloodline, you're gonna need inbreeding to really lock it in. Otherwise, that means you can be breeding it to a scatterbred dog that's just a couple generations in breeding into some line breeding, and next thing you know, your what you thought was going to be a bloodline don't show itself. Derek said, tuning in late. What's up? This APBTOFRM pup is keeping me moving. Oh, I bet you is, especially old family. James Galloway said, we just had a coyote dig into our yard, and I'm sorry, but not sorry to say he didn't make it. Let's see. Pitbull Bell said, John, it can be a beautiful thing if done right. There are some peds I see. I'm like, what the fuck? That's too much. Yeah, it's got to be done right. For instance, we know we want King in our peds at least twice to maintain height, because we are going to be bringing it down. But there needs to be a reason for a dog to be in your pedigree multiple times. The breeding that took place last month, that I'm crossing my fingers that the breeding took, I think we find out this week if that breeding took. And if that breeding took, we're getting a pup from that breeding. That will be a pup I would use multiple times in our creation of our bloodline. So there needs to be a reason of why you're doing a dog multiple times, other than the popularity of the dog or the dog's name. And a lot of that just came from my dog's 10 times Jeep. Well, if a dog is 10 times Jeep, that means something. What happened was you started getting dogs that were 10 times Jeep, never used in the pit, never used in the box. They weren't proven. People were calling them, hey, I got game dogs and mine are 10 times Jeep. Well, you bred all the Jeep out of it. It's 10 times Jeep, but it just ain't got no Jeep in it. And then those same people who were buying those dogs started breeding bullies. And that's how all that stuff got hyped up into the bully community. Calculated Bullies is here from H-Town. Dan G said, my dogs killed one coyote and now they avoid my property at all costs. This is what's funny. One area I used to take Floyd and the dogs to, we would go hunting with no guns. That spot is probably about 10 minutes from my home. That coyote pack dominates our area and neighborhood. The first time Kayla caught one and they got into it real good, we noticed they stopped coming around our area, or they will cross the street. So now 2 miles, no, 3 miles? So 1.5 miles away from our house, she got into it with 3 coyotes. After that, we noticed coyotes would not come down past our house unless they crossed the street. Then we got Floyd. Floyd killed one coyote, ran into the middle of the pack, snatched the coyote, killed it. After that, we noticed coyotes would not come past our house anymore. But that was a pack that dominated our house, and they were able to know that this is where those 2 dogs live. So they know. They're smarter than what we think, and especially when it takes place around your house. When you get out in the woods, of course, that's not going to have the same effect. Pitbull Bell said, inbreeding the right way, it's a beautiful thing if you know what you're doing. You can't buy 4 to 5 dogs at once with no experience, much less talk about inbreeding. Okay, I'm going to have to take that call if it calls back. Let's see. I agree though. 100%. I'm gonna read that again. Inbreeding the right way is a beautiful thing if you know what you're doing. You can't buy 4 to 5 dogs at once with no experience and call yourself a breeder, much less talk about inbreeding. That's the truth. Hold on real quick. Can I respond to that without messing up? Let me see here. Yep. Bam. Okay, so I can respond to people. All right. So let's see. Eric say you only use red cell for diminished dogs. Bam. Late but here once again. What's up? What's up? 862. Thanks for joining in. Always better late than never. Exactly. Eric, and even still careful with red cell. Yeah, I don't think there's any purpose in red cell with bully breeders. Yo, don't inbreed. No, don't inbreed humans. We do not have enough genetic makeup for purpose to be doing any inbreedings with humans. Eric Maxwell said red cell could definitely be hard on the liver if overused. Very true. Let's see. Let's see, right, Eric's common with hardworking dogs and horse people. Let's see, Pitbull Bell exactly can be a beautiful thing if done right. They could breed beautiful bulls, period, if done right. I don't use no supplements. I don't use supplements either. I'm just not into it. I will use what is that? SureGrow 100 on pups, but other than that, I'm not into supplements. I gave my girl dying after her labor, but that's all she ever had was dying, and that was a one-time thing. There you go. Keyword, John. Me, the PvP, no need into it. No need in it. People really mess up when they use the horse stuff on dogs. I agree. Just not knowing how to measure it right, or they're breaking it down just by weight, not understanding how things are just different. It's not just weight. Let's see, people. You know they make red. Yeah, exactly. No need. I use Victor dog food and just add to it. That's same here. I use regular kibble. I just add to it. And I use either pedigree or I use Purina One. Because the last thing I want is a dog that can't eat regular old dog food. I used dying on a pup I got a few years back. He had parvo and was on the verge of dying. That's different. And that's what those things are great for, is boosting a dog's. When a dog is not at its normal level, you're helping to boost it to get it there. But when a dog is at its normal levels of energy, health, whatever you're looking for, there's no need for those things, especially in a dog that's not working. PBP, I use Victor Bed and Rice 2420, nothing else needed, and they're very, very active. Ace 900, that's a good reason to use Dime. I give my dogs kidney beans and black beans and greens and oats and tuna and sardines and eggs, sweet peas. Those are my toppers. There you go. And that's perfect. Bell, I see you taking low-key shots at me with that buying 4 to 5 dogs and calling themselves breeders, because I've been trying to find 6 close to perfect bulls as possible. 2 males, 4 females. She not taking shots at you, but get them perfect, just like you said. Is 6 as close as perfect, and as long as you're doing that, then there's very minimal things you have to work on. Shit, I forgot to send Danny the link. Is he even still in here? I don't think he's in here no more. My bad, Danny, if you come back and watch it. Let's see, I got a consultation just to talk dogs, specifically bullies with someone rational. Beef and rice. Exact. Can you give your XL some hip and joint supplements? Yeah. You can, and I do believe there are companies that I do believe that there are reputable companies to use, especially you want to focus more on glucosamine. I think it could be. I don't do it, but I think it could be a good thing. Um, you can get a lot of good glucosamine from chicken feet, but if you're gonna use supplements, that's really the only supplement besides Suregrow 100 that I could picture actually using is more something for joints and hit, but something with glucosamine in it. Anything else you really shouldn't need. I feed value pack. I tried all that high quality kibble, but never had a dog that did well on it. I used to feed Purina 1. And back when I had APBTs, I used to feed Gravy Train. You know what? I use Gravy Train on a lot of dogs, and it was perfectly fine. Wait, no, John, not you. I swear, not you. Exactly, John. Don't get sensitive in here. I use teal bag and the yellow bag of Victor. I want to try the black and blue bag next. John Stevens, definitely not. I forgot about you asking on the line the one time. That's funny. I've never had a bully, but Bully Max has my APBTs in great condition. I've not tried Bully Max or any of those. Sinatra said both bad blood being sold to inexperienced breeders. I agree. Um, Breeders not really caring and taking the possibility that they know. And you have to assume that some of these dogs respond on a level that those breeders had to have seen subtle things in the parents. Now, it's possible to not see subtle things in the parents if you don't own both parents. But when these breeders of these large kennels own both parents and they're passing off this dog, then playing surprise when there's an issue, it's like, nah, you had to have seen that in one of the parents, or you're just not doing enough with those dogs to see it. When I deal with puppies and Sadie, I love Sadie, King, Justice. So who else we got? Cardi Bull. Damn it, Mikey. Can you close the sliding glass door, please? Um, uh, Mia, all our dogs, when we mess with them, Aziz, Onyx, we squeeze their paws, squeeze their ears, mess with them when they're sleeping, just to get an idea of what they tolerate, what they won't tolerate, and pretty much the idea is that they're going to tolerate whatever we do to them. A lot of breeders aren't doing that. These dogs are staying in kennels, they're breeding them, and they're claiming they know. All right. So these dogs are staying in kennels, they're breeding them, and then they're claiming that they know the temperament or these dogs can be trusted, but you're not doing anything. You're not snatching toys from them. You're not taking balls out their mouth. You're not putting your hand in their food bowl. You're not doing any of those things a breeder should be doing to know their dogs. And then you're claiming you know your dog. Think I'm being blunt. Let's see. Don G, just be careful with the Bully Max. I've heard good and bad with it. I don't know. It's I think if you're getting good results, then cool. PvP, I use the red bag and the blue bag. Dogs love it. Sinatra bingo, but still not talking about. Let's see here. Yeah, that video is nuts. Dope looking dog. But that video is wild, especially for him to get loose just when you think it's over, it comes back. Called All Dogs Are Not Show Dogs. Exactly. Do you think it's beneficial to focus on breeding the double XL in anticipation of the classes being separated? No, I believe that what they will do is either, well, Dave Wilson said they're going to put a 1 inch separation between the classes. So with him saying that, what I believe they will do, very few breeds allow you 3 inches to catch the class that you're breeding. So if you look at us, our pocket goes 14 to 17 inches. The standard goes 17 to 20 inches, and the XL goes 20 to 23 inches. Very few breeds give you 3 inches to fit within a bracket. So what I believe they're going to do, since Dave Wilson said there's going to be a 1-inch gap, what I think they're going to do is just chop off the top inch on each of the classes. So I don't believe you'll need to. So the XL will probably, instead of going 20 to 23 inches, will probably go 20 to 22 inches. And your double XL will just still be able to show, but being over the 22 inches will become a flaw. Or they'll say 20 inches and up for the XL. I don't know what they're going to do with the ABKC. Then there'll be a 1-inch gap. So the standard will go 17, instead of 17 to 20 inches, it'll go 17 to 19 inches. Most breeds give you 2 inches to catch the class that you want to be in. Now, a 1-inch gap between classes to me is still kind of not taking the breed serious, due to the fact that it's still not noticeable. You know, you should be able, to me, it should be at least 2 inches. That way it's noticeable. Where's my ruler? I don't have my ruler here. But what is 2 inches about like that? You know what I'm saying? That's something I can notice, you know, as I walk up on a dog. 1 inch, you can stand right next to the dog. 1 inch is the same as, just like my pinky nail. 1 inch is the same as no inch. So I don't really know, why they're doing that, but maybe they'll make some other adjustments. But I would not, just remember, double XL is a style of XL. So if they do the separation, it's only 1 inch. Chances are you're not going to have to make any adjustments, worry about, whether you need to have larger dogs. The Wildlife Tramp put out this video a week or so ago. Says some dude named Jerry Mahoney stole some of his Red Lion dogs and then outcrossed and maybe inbred while hanging papers and produced some crazy dogs. Yeah, from what I understand, he outcrossed to some pit bull mixed dog. And that's what that dog came from, that breeding. Beautiful red dog, but I had a hard time believing that owner didn't know he was like that. Exactly. He was just hoping he wouldn't be. But he had definitely seen some signs before. Well, it's all good. I was just fucking with you a bit. Apparently, he sold the dogs to people knowing they were crazy. And this is only the most recent of at least 3 attacks, all from the same breeder, i.e. Jerry Mahoney. I want to say I know who that guy is. Let me see if he's on my friends list. He's not coming up. Oh, there he goes. Let me see here. Oh, it's Jerry with a G. No, hold on. Okay, there's all kinds of Jerry Mahonies. 96 friends became us. You know what? But I think he is. Yeah, he and I are actually friends. If it's the same Jerry, yep, and there's his red dogs. So it's the same guy. I do believe it's the same guy. He's got some beautiful dogs, though. Some nice reds. Looking at him now, he's got some nice dogs. Yeah, nice dogs. But hey, it is what it is. I'm gonna let the dog go. That cheap dog collar was really the problem. The dog was able to pop it and attack the judge again. It's crazy. I've been working a lot. You know what? I didn't notice if it was the collar, so I got to relook at that. Maybe that is what it was. The collar broke. Been working a lot, missing lives or just catching pieces and staying silent. No worries, dude. They'll always be here on YouTube. They are not deleted. Wow, dude knew that dog was human aggressive or shy, so he should have shouldn't have took that dog. From the time the video started, he was showing signs that he wasn't comfortable. You know what's funny? That video was sent to me. I didn't see the longer version of the video, but in the longer version of the video, you can tell that the dog is not comfortable and actually making some other dogs comfortable. That just wasn't his surroundings. You know what I mean? And sometimes the dogs can do the exact same scenario outside and they're fine. Inside, it's like, this is just too much. I'm going to feed you just a little bit, girl. Hold on just a second. Because I got to feed myself. Okay, but please know it wasn't you. He got you feeling guilty now. Sinatra said, "Oh, the collar broke." I was about to say, yeah. You know what? I didn't even notice that. And I think about it. I want to say there was something black there that snapped. That's too bad. It's a nice looking dog, great looking dog. La Falea, yeah, just a collar issue. I'm good. For you is working a lot. 100% the owner's fault, especially the dog getting loose. We do got to remember that when a dog is 5 times this, 6 times that, can mess with temperament. Agreed. Because now you got a whole lot of his temperament or a whole lot of that 5 times, 6 times, you got a whole lot of his mama or daddy's temperament. You may not know anything about them. Sadie, what you doing over there, girl? That dog was ready from jump. Then he saw the red clipboard. What's good? What's good, CPT? Thanks for joining in, man. But still, he had to have known that dog was like. I agree. I think there had to have been some issues with that dog before. It's like Cardi Bull. Cardi Bull being raised with Floyd and Fox. Her mama already had somewhat of a great dog, good dog, but still she was a dog that was protective and she was not willing to be dominated by other dogs, males, anything. It's one of the reasons I wanted Cardi. She is very similar to her mom, plus she was raised with my Jack Russell, who was a working terrier. She was also raised with Floyd, who's my catch dog, a working catch dog. She picked up a lot of their mannerisms, and especially the Jack Russell. The Jack Russell did not like people. Cardi Bull's cool with people, but because she picked up mannerisms from them, I'm watchful with her. Now, I broke a lot of what she picked up from them so that I could see the natural her. So she can go to PetSmart, she's fine. She can go to the vet, she's fine. We can bring people, strangers in the home, she's fine. But she is that dog that does look to me to be like, sometimes, you want me to get that dude? She doesn't have that fear, that nervousness of going after a person. She just won't go after you because there's no reason to go after you. So if you were to do something, yeah, climb through a window, open a door, and nobody invited you in, even if the door was unlocked. Matter of fact, the door could be open. Cardi's that dog that if you come through that door and nobody was in the living room when you came in, she gonna get you. You know what I mean? That's just her. And she will definitely give you the opportunity to back up and get out. But she's gonna get you. So we have to think about that. Now, would I breed Cardi to a hot dog? No. That's why King of Diamonds was perfect. You know what I mean? But even though I believe, because of her nature and is proven through the litters that she's had, her offspring, even those that are more like her, they're out at beaches and they're a year and a half old. They're out at beaches having great times, socializing with people. So I know a lot of what I noticed in her was definitely from her being around my Jack Russell. But at the same time, I'm glad she was, because I did need a more protective dog around the house because of the Jack Russell getting old and Floyd also getting old. Let's see. I have a mixed opinions. We breed dogs to be gladiators and then expect them to allow a stranger to put a tape around its head. Well, see, that's the thing. And with the XL American Bully, we're not breeding it to be a gladiator. I would hope that we're breeding it to be somewhat protective so that we can maintain intelligence. I would hope that we're breeding it to have a certain amount of prey drive so that we can maintain health and intelligence, the desire to condition itself and work itself. I would hope, but we're not breeding them to be gladiators. But at the same time, they came from gladiators. So if you're not cognizant of how you are breeding or the breeder that you're turning to, then guess what? Mistakes are going to happen. And that's what happened. These dogs did come from gladiators. When we see that height on them, that's from the Mastiff. No matter how much you want to breed it out, when you start getting 23 inches and up, that's from the Mastiff. Have collars that would hold big ass dogs that are a danger. There are collars made for it, and that's just bad that collar broke. That dog got ninja. Gladiators don't need to be in the show ring. You know what? I very much agree. If I've got a dog 100% for working purposes, I have no desire to bring it into the show ring. Now, if I'm going to bring a dog into the show ring, that is going to be a dog for show ring. You know what I mean? It's going to be bred for that. But don't get me wrong. I think you can do both. If I'm not mistaken, Brittany Burns, she has dogs bred for protection. Or let me say this, because I don't want to mistake what I'm saying. I'm not going to say that she breeds them for protection, but she has dogs that excel and do very well in protection training and are also champions in the show ring. So, but in order for them to do both those things, that means she's breeding for a certain level of intelligence. And when you start breeding the work out of the dogs, you're going to breed the intelligence out and the health out eventually. Especially dogs that were created for work or were created from dogs that were created from work. They should be able to be at home doing their job. I agree. I was definitely uncomfortable. He was definitely uncomfortable. In my opinion, bully shows like that should be banned. Fun shows or whatever are a joke. There's always something that happens at them. I think that was a fun show due to the fact they were measuring the head. Conformation show, they wouldn't be measuring the head of a dog. I get why they do fun shows. I just think there has to be a certain amount of dog knowledge and experience added to these fun shows. Damn, I want to say something to you guys, but I can't say it. I just can't. But you guys will be seeing something coming in the few months but I will say this, as far as fun shows go, I think there's a way to do them. I also think we need a second set of eyes. So if he's going to measure the dog, there should be somebody else that's done behavioral training. I think we have too many people involved in the community that are judges, but have never, and that are breeding, that are judges, that own registries, that run registries, and they have no behavioral training. They've never worked a dog. So all those signs that we should be looking for, they're missing. I personally think when it comes to the pocket class, the XL, yeah, even the pocket class, them shit's got jaws. So the pocket class, the XL class, I think there should be a second set of eyes that's kind of looking around and then that can say, hey, you know what, that dog and that dog, let's kind of watch. I'm going to kind of watch them when he's approached in the fun show for a head measurement or whatever it is. I also think when you're working with that type of dog, you don't want to be straight on. Dogs don't face each other straight on. They work at angles. So us as humans, we work like this. Bink, we shake hands. Hey, Tom, and we do all that kind of stuff. We give dap, whatever it is we do, but we do it straight on. We're even taught to make sure that we give eye contact when we meet somebody. Dogs don't do that. Dogs see what they need to see, and then they operate at an angle. and they end up like this. I personally believe that if that dog did that well, that long for that part of the day, had that dude have been, if you're going to measure the dog's head, do it from behind the dog or to the side of the dog. This way the dog has to adjust, and you got your hand to prevent it from it. You also got time to step back. But when you're right in front of the dog's mouth, you're giving yourself no options. Some of you know I was at an XL show a couple years, last year actually. I got bit by a dog, dope dog. I won't say his name because I love what he did and I don't want people to look at him negatively. But when I approached the dog, somebody told me that the dog was there and pointed at him. So I went to the owner, who's known in the community, and as I was approaching the dog to pet him, he looked cool. But the minute the owner's wife stepped up, the dog went into protection mode. Whoa! And he snapped, got my hand barely, got me right at my wrist, barely. Actually, I still kind of got the scars. I didn't realize that. Barely got my wrist. And then when he got back to his feet, and I pulled my hand back, and then he got back to his feet and lunged at my face. But by then, I was already within his rhythm. So I was able to, step out the way. And that's why if you look at that show, you'll see I have my hand and wrist wrapped because he got me right on my wrist. But with that being said, and that's why I say sometimes if I would have been looking at that dog from a training aspect, it probably never would have happened because I would have noticed all those signs, even when the wife approached. But coming up to him, because now I'm impressed with a dog that I get to see, and I've only been able to see on Facebook, I kind of was not my normal self. And so when his wife approached and he sensed the wife, and he was cool with me approaching him when he was with the husband. It was when the wife approached it, he was like, nah. And he just went for me, bam, bam. And that was it. He wasn't doing a bunch of barking and growling afterwards like you saw the red dog doing. So he was letting me know, like, fool, I get you. Don't come in this vicinity when the queen is here. And now I love the dog even more for biting me when the wife came. You know what I'm saying? But I'm about dogs like that. So I don't have a problem with that. And that's why I won't say the guy's name, because I know a lot of the fur mom male breeders will try to call them out and talk trash and belittle them. But for me, I got nothing but respect for a dog that way. But again, what am I doing? I'm in a situation where I'm approaching the dog from the directly on. When I did go to step to the side and use a little bit of the behavioral training that I do know, that was at the same time that he looked and was able to feel the wife coming up. And when he noticed the wife coming up, he let me know, back the hell up. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that situation at the show could have probably been prevented if he spent a little more time in front of the dog. Now you got this tape. Dog don't know what that tape is for. For all he knows, you about to put another noose or leash on him. So he don't know what you about to do with that. So I think had he have stepped to the side, he would have not only been a little safer, but also the dog would have probably been a little more relaxed, because now you're not a stranger constantly staring at this dog, and you're staring at the numbers on that tape. But as far as the dog's concerned, you're just staring him directly in his eyes. So I think a lot of that was a little too direct. Well, even with that type temperament, be able to control and be able to put your dog in check or leave it at home. But if you don't train and socialize, then don't bring a dog like that. Bingo. CBT said, how long does it take for a male or female to fully mature? Average dog is right around 2.5, 3 years. If you're talking about inside, about 1.5 years. The overall dog, muscularity, testosterone kicking in, head, you're looking at about 2.5 to 3 years, especially on these XL dogs. I have a female right now that turned 2 in November, and now she's sitting on 138 pounds, and she's an active dog. So she at 2 you'll still probably notice some bone changes over the next 6 to 12 months. Some stop at 2, but I would say over the next 6 to 12 months, there's a good chance you'll notice some bone changes. Growth in head structure, things like that starts to stand out. But that's usually all that's left. You're usually not going to get more height Steph, you're usually not going to get more height. The height usually is locked in by now. So you'll just get a little more mass and bone. She might pick up a little weight. I have dogs that I'll tell the judge, let me show you their teeth. That's exactly, because you know your dogs, though. Who knows what's in that bloodline if that dog isn't of that dog? Isn't that dog from the lines look like gremlins? So who really knows what's in it? I want to say it is a red lion dog, or has some red lion blood. Apparently, there was some thievery going on and some inbreeding, along with outcrossing to another mixed breed dog. So who knows? She's chocolate merle. Also, bro, I just told you what's in it. Let's see, CBT bullies. I've seen them keep maturing up to 4 or 5 years old. Woo, that's a long time. I want to say King stopped at. I don't think we noticed any changes after. He's a huge dog too, but I don't think we really noticed any changes after 3, 3.5. What up, Thor? Quick question. I have 2-week-old litter. I think a pup might be fading. Any ideas of what would help? I remember you speaking about beef liver water. Yeah, go get some raw beef liver. Put it in make sure that you are using some type of Caro syrup. I use the clear one. Belinda uses the dark one. In their whatever you're using to whelp them in their bottle, their formula, I mean. Also, for the fading, at 2 weeks, you should be past that phase, but just in case, get yourself some beef liver. Pour that into a skillet or pan. Put just enough water in to kind of get above the beef liver. And then as soon as it boils, heat that for about 5-7 minutes. As soon as it boils, get yourself an eyedropper, or you can even use, regular little baby thing, like the little baby syringes. But if you can get an eyedropper, it's better because you can control the drops. I try to use this. It was actually for CBD oil, but I now use it for that. Get yourself the eyedropper, and then every 2 hours, you're going to give that pup 4 drops. Still try to feed it as much as you can. Still try to do all your everything. But every 2 hours, you're going to give that pup 4 drops. You're going to do that for 12 hours. After 12 hours, every 4 hours, you're going to give it 4 drops. And you're going to do that until the pup looks like it's bounced back on its feet. And you should be good. It was crazy that Mel was a big guy. Yeah, he was a big boy. Let's see, where are we at 6:12? Ooh, I'm way behind. I'm over an hour behind. I'm over an hour. I'm about an hour and a half behind. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the live. Let me see here. If I spot any questions. I don't think there's any. Also, so I'm going to go ahead and log off so I can get me something to eat and feed these dogs. Remember, you guys, if you have any topics, make sure that you check out the Giant XL American Bully Breed 2.0 group on Facebook. And you can add your topics there. Also, my page, Daryl Thrower. I think it's Cardi Bull on the profile pic. You can add, so between Monday morning and Tuesday morning, I will always post a poll, and you can add whatever topics you want to that poll, and we'll make sure we touch on those topics. And of course, it's always a party in the comments. I want to thank you guys for joining in. Salute. I'm going to hit Sinatra up by tomorrow, and hopefully I can get him on here and we can chop it up about these dogs. I got a couple other people that I want to bring in and do interviews with when it comes to these dogs, but we'll get to that. But thank y'all for tuning in. Also, make sure to follow us on Thor Bullies Instagram. Make sure to follow the Thor Bullies page on Facebook. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. I think you guys are all dialed in with the YouTube. I'm out. See y'all later.